What's up, everyone? Welcome Season Gaming Bitcast, your best Bitcast at noon on Saturday specifically. That's the only claim to fame we have at the moment. But coming at you, I am Ainsley Bowden. Just going by Ains today. I couldn't come up with a fancy name like Dan always does, but we do have our resident Luna fanboy in the house. What's going on?
Baby. Yep. I'm going to be all over that stuff. I'm going to be on Twitter telling everybody how much their shit sucks. Amazon is awesome.
You're taking it right to Stadia, right out of the gate, huh?
Oh, they're going to, yeah, they don't have a chance.
And joining us for the first time, which it's been too long, but I'm very excited to have you on, man, is Joseph, host of the Trophy Room PlayStation podcast, Mr. Badbit himself. What's going on, man?
What's up? You are the first person ever that has said the Trophy Room name right. Because usually people just go PlayStation Trophy Room. Oh, I'm like, it's backwards.
Podcast, man. Come on.
Yeah. Well, you know what it is? So many people look at the Twitter handle and they go PS Trophy Room. That's what they assume. So thank you so much for having me on. I got a question for you. Since we got the Luna fanboy, the lunatic himself.
Yes.
What do we call Stadia people?
Stadiums.
Stadiums.
There you go. All right. I'll do it.
Yeah, I don't know. But good to have you on, man. Obviously, a great week to come on, especially for perspective, because I think it's someone who speaks PlayStation and has such a passion for it while remaining neutral. One of the reasons I was excited to have you on is yourself, like PS Bra, who we're friends with, and a couple of the other guys. You love PlayStation, love it dearly, but it doesn't mean you have to talk down about other platforms. And I love that. It's simple in theory, right? You would think. Yeah. So anyway, really excited to get some of your perspective on the big news we have this week, of course. What's up, chat? Good to see everyone. We were also going to have Archimedes on, who's been on the show a few times. If you missed his tweets this morning, he actually early this morning in Germany had an accident on the trampoline with his kids and really tore up his ankle real bad, had to go to the hospital. He's on crutches. It's kind of a mess. So he may actually drop in. He does have the links to drop in if he wants to, but he's on pain meds. And I told him certainly this is the least of his worries.
Yes. I'm on pain meds, so it'll fit right in.
I know. And look at the push you are every week.
Yeah,
I mean,
every week.
I would like getting to talk to Archimedes every week. I would love to see what Oxycontin out Archimedes sounds like.
Gosh.
Like that. I hope you get to see it.
That would be something special, actually.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
All right. So, Joseph, real quick, we always like to talk to our new guests about kind of, how they got into gaming, especially someone like you as a creator and runs a podcast himself. So let's start there, man. How long have you been gaming? I know me and Dan are old folks here, but how long have you been gaming and what got you into it?
I'm thinking all the way back. So I was born in the 90s. Okay. But I was raised with all types of 80s stuff. So, my first console is the classic Nintendo Entertainment System. Okay. Right? Watching my brother play, oh my God, Back to the Future. And then, what was the, oh my God, the guy with the jetpack. Oh my goodness. The Rocketeer game. There you go.
Oh, okay.
Classic Mario. I remember watching more than, playing the games myself, but, the first game that I've played and actually beaten, I think, was going then into the Super Nintendo with Super Mario World.
Okay.
Which still is the best 2D Mario game.
100%. 100%.
It's not even close. You get all the types of Yoshis. It's fantastic. And so, I started there. And even since I was a kid, we were always kind of lucky enough to have both consoles in a way of we'd have the Nintendo consoles at home. My grandma / my uncle would have the other systems. So the PlayStation or the Sega Genesis at their house so that we would come over because they knew us. We weren't going to come over. There was no video games. So even when it comes to the Genesis, we it was mostly Sonic games. That's what we were playing on there. We even had the Sonic and Knuckles adapter pack to it.
Oh yeah.
Amazing. And when it comes to PlayStation, here's the craziest thing. Not a PlayStation guy. Early days, we had the demo disc. That was pretty much it. So like we play the first level of like Crash and Spyro over and over again.
Yeah.
Siphon Filter, I think, is the only real game that we've had on that console. So that's where I really grew up, is like around like the 4th and 5th gen.
Okay.
But here's the kicker. Here's the kicker. Moving into the 6th generation, Xbox guy.
Okay.
We actually had arguments. It got so bad in the house where my dad was just like, all right, we got to get another Xbox because these kids keep arguing. These kids, we can't do this every weekend where they're fighting like this. So like, that was the Halo machine. Like that was the only game we needed to play, and Brute Force.
It's the only game anyone needs, to be honest.
Yeah, honest to goodness. So like, Halo was the game that really cemented the fact that, oh, I'm a gamer. Like N64 was great. It saved my childhood, but like it was Halo. Halo was just like this. These are the games I always want to play from here on out.
Nice.
I can't even.
Dan could learn a thing or two from you.
Yeah.
But
I can't, like, my greatest memory with the original Xbox was we went to Massachusetts to visit my uncle, and he was just like burning stuff in the backyard. He was getting rid of like, you know, like trees and twigs and all this brush and stuff. And I accidentally threw poison ivy into that, and it hit me in the face. I actually inhaled it too.
Oh man,
which is a big no-go. And so I spent most of that vacation with just my face puffed out and just playing Halo with my brother. And it was actually some of the best memories, the best bonding moments with him, just talking shop, eating Halo on Legendary, almost completely blind. Like my eyes, man, I looked like an insect. So like Halo was, or Xbox was my machine, even all the way till the 360.
Okay.
As well. Like the 360 was, I played everything on that machine, and that's where I was the Xbox fanboy. My cousin used to work at the Sony style places, and she got like a PlayStation 3 for like free practically, and like all the games. I could have easily been like, "Hey, can I buy a PlayStation from you? Get it like a steep discount?" No, I was just like, "This is my 360. It's my ride or die console." Until, I'm sorry, going on a rant. You could cut me off whenever you want.
No, you're good. Go.
But I used to talk trash with her all the time, and just completely like dismissing anything Sony or PlayStation related until like my 7th red ring. And then that's when I was just like, it was the slim model. And I've had this argument with Luke Lloyd. He goes, no, they fixed that problem. I go, no. All they did was remove the red LED because it happened, and it hurt me greatly. But I was able to like fix it a little bit, trade it into GameStop. It's great. Get that store credit. And that's when I switched to PlayStation. Okay. That's where I was just like, I'm going to be a PC guy and a PlayStation guy. That's why I can't wait for this game called The Last of Us and whatever. So like I bought my PlayStation. I remember it. I bought my PlayStation at GameStop when I was working there. Because this guy wanted to trade it in for cash. He reeked of weed. So like you knew what his intentions were, but he didn't have a controller. He didn't have any of the wires. So it's like, dude, we'll give you $60 for this, or I can walk outside to an ATM, give you 80 for it. And so all I did was I bought my PlayStation 3 from this dank looking dude, bought a controller, bought the wire, bought Uncharted 2, and then all of a sudden, after playing that game, I was like, I've been an idiot my entire life. There is awesome games everywhere. Yeah. And I feel like when you've seen some people that have been either Xbox or PlayStation for a really long time and then get that taste of the other ecosystem, and then they just do the 180 of like,
well, now like a buffet at that point.
Well, like to me it was, but like to others, it's just like, oh, I played, God of War. Now I'm a PlayStation fanboy. Screw Xbox today. Suck. And I'm just like, I have the total opposite. I'm like, oh my God, Uncharted 2 freaking rules. And there's so much to play here. And so instead of being a fanboy, I was just like, this is awesome. Let me just play all the games. Yeah. Which is what it should be. So really it was Uncharted 2 that like opened my eyes of like, oh my God, Sony's got some stuff. And with the mess ups that Xbox had in this generation, that's where I pretty much made the full leap over to the PlayStation ecosystem.
Okay.
And that's where I play. That's now my preferred ecosystem.
Sure.
To just have so many great games that I prefer. That said, I was playing Sea of Thieves this morning with Luke Lore. I love that game.
I know. He tells me about how much you guys play that. Dan was the same way for a while, man.
It's addictive.
No, I got it on some of your streams too. I've been watching a couple of those.
Yeah. Join us, please. We need a fourth mate.
There you go.
So, like,
you may not want that after you actually get.
Trust me, we'll take anybody. It's fine. We do with our friend Kev. He's not that great, but I kid. He's good. But yeah, that's where I've kind of, that's like my gaming history in a nutshell, is being a Nintendo kid, being a Xbox teen, kind of being this known as PlayStation, but really just, I'm the type of guy where if you just get a controller in my hands, I'm happy.
Yeah.
It really doesn't matter the ecosystem. So when we're like talking about PlayStation, when I was making that show, I understood that I had a huge gap in not knowledge of PlayStation, but experiences with it. So I needed a co-host that had that. And so picking Kyle was like the obvious decision. But I always approach it, and I feel like not a lot of people do, unfortunately, when they're covering a specific platform. We're not cheerleading it. We're just discussing it. It's our beat. We're not saying that we're reporters, but we're trying to act like a beat reporter in terms of like, we're trying to be critical of this ecosystem that we're following and as knowledgeable as we can. So, and knowing and also conceding the fact that our opinions change as well, and being transparent with our audience. So to me, it's been an awesome journey with games.
That's awesome.
That's what I love the most is games, not really the platforms, but the games we play, experiences we have and such.
Oh, it's funny you say that, because I look at Luke kind of the same way. He does the Xbox expansion pass, but if you listen to it, he's not cheerleading Xbox. He's just talking about Xbox, and he's knowledgeable about it, right? A very big difference. So it's good. That's awesome, man. So what would you say then is if you had to pick one console in your history, what's the most memorable one for you?
Oh God, it's hard. That's a really tough one. I think like recency bias would say PlayStation, because I've had a lot of great experiences, or PlayStation 4, like a lot of great experiences. I always say it, Bloodborne's my game of the generation. That is just
okay.
It's been 2014 days. I don't know, since the original launch. It's a round number. It's around there, but something would say N64 is the most memorable, like nostalgic wise.
Okay.
Because it was so impactful to my childhood. We've all had bad childhoods. We've all been scarred which way or the other. I think the N64 really shielded me the most from those traumatic moments. So yeah, like I'm thinking like Smash. I'm thinking of all the times I tried to feign sick to just play like Mario 64. So like, yeah, that I would say, and maybe N64, 360, then PlayStation 4.
Okay.
Sure.
And what's your favorite game or series?
Game, definitely Bloodborne.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I would like to be like, put my critical hat on. I'm like, it's God of War. It's literally like a perfect game. But when I take a look at Bloodborne, that is another eye-opening game where I never thought I looked at Dark Souls. I was like, never. Yeah. No, those are too hard. And I played Bloodborne. I'm like, I died for 3 hours straight and I was about to give up. And then I was just like, you know what? Let me just go back in, blank slate. And really, it's not like, to me, it's not punishing you. It's teaching you things. Mm-hmm. And so when I took that aspect into it of like, every death is a learning experience and learning from your mistakes, then I started to really enjoy the game, love the game after I beat Father Gascoigne. And then finding out all these bosses had all these neat little tricks along with it to make the boss fights really hard or easy rather. That I beat it the first time. And then I remember just going, okay, let's beat it again. And I beat it again. And I beat it again. And I beat it again. And then finally I got the platinum last year.
Okay.
Out of just sheer, like, I know I can do it. Let's do it. And yeah, so I've beat that game about like 5 to 7 times.
Wow.
It's just been, that is my game. But like the real answer is probably God of War because it's just perfect.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, so we'll touch on a little later than the reinvigorated rumors of a Bloodborne remaster. I know everyone's got their fingers crossed. I've been hearing about it for a while, so we'll see.
It's been right. It's been
a while, yeah. So, but let's get into it, man. Let's get into the obvious kind of monster topic of the week. And I think, like I said, this is going to be a lot of perspective here, and I know I have a lot to say, so it'll be interesting. So let's start with the basics, right? We're going to talk Bethesda and Xbox. The basics. I think everyone listening here knows, right? But $7.5 billion. This is 8 development studios, nearly 2,300 employees. And it now puts the Xbox Game Studio kind of development group at 23 studios and nearly 5,000 employees. So just a massive, massive presence. One of the biggest deals we've ever seen in gaming. I think someone said it's the second biggest financial deal ever in gaming. I was going through some things this morning, looking through that. So we're going to talk about a lot of aspects of this, right? We're going to talk about Game Pass. We're going to talk about the whole exclusives conversation. We're going to talk about short and long-term impact. But just out of the gate, and Dan, I'll start with you. Just out of the gate, high-level overall thoughts on the acquisition itself before we get into all the details.
I mean, it's if you're upset about it, then I don't know what to tell you. Then you're doing it wrong, I guess. Here's the thing, because it's for me, this is going to put all these big Bethesda games that I've played forever on Game Pass, which I'm locked into for probably 5 years now. So this is just, for me anyway, personally, I love this move. I think it, really kind of takes Microsoft, and moves that needle. I've talked about that before. Finally, after, kind of, we've seen all these very small moves and these very, consumer focused moves, and stuff was, and it was all good. This one, kind of puts that, that it actually made the needle move a little bit, in my opinion. So I'm really interested to see how they're gonna, how this affects, the longer term. I'm still not sold on, we'll get into the exclusives and stuff later, but
yeah,
I don't know. It's I either take a guy's word for what he said, or, I don't. It's good. I mean, it's good for Microsoft, and they have the power to do this stuff because they are extremely rich and tons of money, and this is good for the Bethesda studios as well, and Arcane and everybody. This is going to basically give them, more assets to work with, more money, and whatever else they need. I mean, it's if you're an Elder Scrolls fan or a Fallout fan, then you can only look at this. I don't care what you're playing it on. This is a good move for you, because hopefully we won't get a Fallout 76, down the road. Maybe we'll get, a Fallout 4 instead. I don't know. Yeah, something good. I mean, I just meant like by quality standards.
Yeah,
it's just
New Vegas.
New Vegas. God, I got to agree. That's all I can say. It's great. I mean, I don't see anything wrong with it.
Okay, so Joseph, I obviously hosting a PlayStation. The focus of this week for many people has been, well, how does this affect PlayStation? And we'll, obviously want to hear your thoughts on that. I think there's a lot of chatter in the void that has been, misguided and all over the place, as you would expect. But what are your kind of high level overall thoughts on when you saw this on Monday? Oh, give me 1 second. Before we do that, I got to deal with this Hassan guy real fast, who didn't take long to give us the $5 super chat to bring up Anthem 2.0 versus ZeniMax. He's picking Anthem 2.0 over the ZeniMax acquisition. I have to agree with
fair, though.
Yeah, I have to agree
with that. Luke Lore, and he just disguised himself.
No. So we have a long running, starting to become painful joke around Anthem on this podcast. And so Anthem 2.0 is always the topic of conversation every week. And don't worry, next time we play Halo, I'll shoot Hassan several more times just to make sure, we get him back for this comment. But As always, Hassan, thank you very much. All right, so Joseph, overall thoughts when you saw this?
I got three main ones, and it has changed over the course of days. So like my opinion when it first happened was like, this is huge. Then when I recorded the trophy room, I'm like, oh no, like this has implications. And then I recorded a show with my friend Sean, and now I'm a little bit more optimistic. So my big takeaway is this is huge. If you're Bethesda, you needed this because from what I read, the investors have been wanting to sell. A lot of them are older, so they just want to kind of take their investment and kind of, retire with it. And their publishing arm has not been as successful as they'd like. So they've gotten a few hits in there with like Doom Eternal, Fallout 4, but for the most part, that remastering of Skyrim every year, it seems like that's for reasons, because they're typically not hitting the sales markers that they would have liked, especially when it comes to like Arcane with the Dishonored franchise. Unfortunately, it's fantastic. So if you're Bethesda, you just got a huge investor that seems like does not care if you hit those sales goals. It really just wants your content in their service.
Yep.
So if you're Bethesda, you have a awesome safety net now. And if you're Microsoft, well, now you just changed the entire conversation. Like, this is huge. I say this a lot. I feel like Microsoft has tricked a lot of people this year into thinking that their main focus is launching a console, right? Like, they have tricked you guys so well because their main goal, every time you hear them talk, is Game Pass. Game Pass. When they're showing you a game, they're like, available on Game Pass. That whole showcase that they did, in August? Yeah, that was a Game Pass event. That was not for the Series X at all. Like, they're showing you the pipeline of what Game Pass is going to offer you from here a little bit into the future and beyond. And now filling that portfolio with Bethesda is absolutely ginormous, and it turns the conversation, even as a PlayStation podcast, seeing people in my community going, all right, this is cool, like this gives me a reason to actually be interested in Microsoft. And like seeing people go, all right, looks like I'm gonna get a Series S to have this as my secondary console, have this, like that's what my Xbox is. It's my Game Pass machine. So this just lends to it as a great way to build what is the future of Xbox. So if you're both of those companies, you're in a really good place. And I think launching Xbox Series with this ultimate selling point that is Game Pass, you just gave your audience the absolute win. This is what they wanted to see. In the beginning of this gen, they were talking about selling Xbox. Now look at it. It's like front and center. Yeah. So the only thing where I'm concerned, and this is just my concern, is seeing, and maybe this is just a feel the burn moment, but like seeing a major corporation buy a major publisher, and then at the same time we're seeing Google, we're seeing Amazon Luna, we're hearing that the big corporations are coming in.
Yeah.
And so are we going to start seeing these big corporations really not earn dominance but buy it? Right, that's where my concern is where does this go down the line? But at the end of the day, it's great for all parties. But that's the thing that I'm not like worried right now, but I do, it has me at a slight caution for what the future could spell.
Yeah, you're talking about like a consolidation, of the gaming. Yeah, that's a valid point, I guess. I mean, this is a huge one, but then you got to look at like EA, Ubisoft, 2K, all these other, would Sony or Microsoft or hell, even Google or Amazon buy these? And then, that's a valid concern, I think.
And I'm more worried about Amazon than I am of Google, because Amazon seems like it has more money than God, and it will buy whatever it needs to make to supplant itself in another ecosystem.
Yeah, and they already have the delivery aspect because everyone in the world uses Amazon, and they have the broadest cloud backbone in the world as well. So they're set up to have an impact. I think it's a valid concern in that far, and that's obviously a different conversation than just the Xbox and Bethesda one. But yeah, I think that's coming. The gaming industry is a $160 billion global industry, and it's growing exponentially year over year. The major companies in the world, no matter who you are, they're not ignoring that. Everyone wants a cut, right?
Yep.
And when you think about the future, we're already going off topic here, but if you think about the future of gaming in general and the cloud aspect of it, there's only 3 major players that have even the infrastructure at all who can do that, and that is Amazon, Google, and Microsoft. They're the only 3 players in the cloud space that have the global infrastructure to do this. Dan, I've been talking about this for a while. I mean, that's just it's what it is. But going back to the Bethesda piece, so I agree with both you guys. I think Joseph, you rightly pointed out that Bethesda was looking to be acquired. What we're hearing now is, over the past few years, and apparently what we heard is this deal's been in the works for over 2 years, right? That this was, for lack of a better word, agreed upon but not signed, 2 years ago. And I think it's absolutely amazing that even the most insider of insiders that we see around the industry had no idea this was coming. So the fact that they kept the lid on this was impressive. But Dan, you said too something I found interesting, which was everyone's going to benefit because the games are going to benefit. And I think that's a missed thing that I touched on when I wrote about it too, is that if you look at someone like PlayStation, first party, and we've seen the benefit of their kind of engine sharing, knowledge sharing, cross game development, right? We've seen the benefit in PlayStation first party. Now you can argue that kind of Ubisofty as well, right? It makes some of the games feel a little sameish at times, but there's absolutely a benefit to the quality that gets produced. And I think you're going to see that now with Bethesda titles, to your point. You're going to see them taking advantage of the additional funding they have. Funding is now not a problem. The funding conversation is gone, right? So now it's what talent do you need to develop on your vision? And if that means, rewriting an engine or hiring 20 extra devs or, sharing devs across, you have 23 studios, right? It's very, very easy for, let's say Todd Howard's group to say, hey man, I need 20 QA people to help finish this game up. Okay, no problem. It's just
joking like right now. Like you talking about this is like making me semi-hard. I mean, it's insane how good these games.
I don't want to ever hear again that me talking does something to you.
I mean, it could have been anybody talking. To be fair, I'm just saying. Like, it's so like that was the one thing, right? With a lot of Bethesda games, short of maybe like Doom or something, you always had those issues, and but then you look at like what Outer Worlds is, where you don't have hardly any bugs, really. I mean, it's insane. It's
improvement.
Sorry, right. No, that's what I want. Like being able in this group of so many game developers, you've got the potential to at least release a product that's going to be up here instead of like now we got to fix it for 6 months. And you've got those assets and you've got that backing from Microsoft.
Yep.
I am so excited at the potential of what these games can be.
And the key word there is potential, right? Because people think you buy studios and now they're making games for you. There's a massive amount of transition and behind the scenes work that has to go into optimizing this working structure, right? It took PlayStation devs. The foundation the games that we saw at a PlayStation first party, their best ones. You said God of War, perfect example. Ghost of Tsushima is great. All these other ones, right? The foundation for that level of development and engine optimization was done in the PS3 era. I mean, that's when it really started to begin. It takes years. So as we've seen with the acquisitions in the other studios Microsoft made in 2018, right? We're still waiting to see the fruits of some of those benefits. They're still hiring. They're still expanding. It's going to take time, but the point being is exactly that is, now they have this massive, massive wealth, the biggest first party development group that they can pull from in any area to help optimize releases. And it's just, to your point, Dan, the potential for that is mind boggling.
Yeah.
And they said they're not done. I think, I want to hear you guys' comments on this too, but I think even the most staggering comment was Phil Spencer goes on CNBC and he's made this $7.5 billion deal, right? You have to speak to investors about it. So he talks about it, and who backs him up immediately? Nadella, right? CEO of Microsoft. So you've got the CEO of the richest corporation in human history backing you up vocally on social media, on news outlets, saying, this is our investment to reach 3 billion gamers, and we are going to continue to invest in content to reach those gamers. And he's just, whatever Phil did and said to Nadella 3-4 years ago, he's got him. He's in, man. He is sold.
I think the way that conversation went too was like Satya is like, okay, so we're a services company. Yep. How do we make your video games a service? If we're going to keep you, how do you make this? How do you make this investment worth it?
Fantastic point.
Yeah, and that's where Phil Spencer laid down this idea of like there is no exaggeration here of like, okay, let's take these consoles out of it, right? Where's games in 5, 10, 15 years from now? They're in the cloud. So let's work with the present, but let's think for the future. And so seeing what is the beginning of the fruits of the labor that Phil is building here is nowhere near done, because I think what they really want is they want a game or two every quarter that you're constantly playing and constantly talking about.
In fact, we were going to touch on that, but he literally said that in the future he wants to get to a place, and they all won't be AAA titles, but he wants to get to a place where they have a first party release every month on Game Pass.
Yeah, and that is you need studios to build that. A lot of studios.
Yes.
Yeah, so I am thinking like, I think the sweet spot is around that, if and around that 30 number, because they really want this to be Netflix. There's no doubt about it. 100%. Where like what you said, there'll be little releases probably for the most part those month to month, but I think you're going to get a big-ish game, AA or AAA, every quarter where they're talking about it. Yep. Whether it's like a Stranger Things like event, and that's what Microsoft's building to. And I think out of everyone, they're poised to. I hate to say win because I really hate the like Xbox versus something, but like they're poised to take this industry and elevate it to a level that I don't think gamers were prepared for 5 years ago, but I think we're all in for, for the next 5 years.
It's funny, right? Because I was thinking this morning in 2012, 2013, 2014, start of the generation, we heard about the power of the cloud, and it became a running joke, right? Yeah. It became, they're talking about the damn cloud again. And all these people who can't see the forest through the trees are saying, why are they talking about the cloud? That's meaningless. Have you looked around lately? Right. They knew what they were talking about. They were there too early. It wasn't implemented well. It wasn't messaged well. We could go over that ad nauseum, right? We all know that. And it screwed them up in the Xbox One generation pretty badly. But the reality of the fact is they knew where this was going long term. And they, in 2016, 2017, I think it was, beginning when they put Phil in charge, they had the right guy to start to push them in that direction. And as you said, it takes a very long time. We're not a couple years away from gaming being in the cloud. But if you don't think that the future, as you just said, 10, 15 years from now is gaming in the cloud globally, then you're not paying attention.
Yeah, you're really not. That's why, like, when people are like, so what's going to sell more, like Xbox or PlayStation? I'm like, who really cares?
It doesn't matter.
It does not matter.
And that's exactly why when they started saying console sold is not what we're focused on, and people are like, they've given up, they've lost. And it's like, you don't understand. You're missing the point of the industry.
There's a reason why they're telling you 15 million plus subscriptions, and they're not telling you how many pre-orders they got for series. It's like, it's history breaking. How many? Who cares? Look at how many of this we got. Like that is,
and 100 million plus users on live. We just heard, right? Yeah. Live engagement. Mm-hmm. So
that's all it is. It's always that's like Jez has said. In the past, he said that basically that's how they measure their success is in engagement.
Yes.
And I don't give a crap how they measure the success, as long as that success equals fantastic games
for us to play.
That's it, man, and that's what everybody should be focused on. But unfortunately,
100%. Not so much. We're getting to it. Don't worry. Let me get these super chats real quick. Bomber, Bomber, we already talked about Anthem 2.0. You're like 10, 15 minutes late, and now you're going to get shot extra times when we play Halo next. It's your turn. But thank you for the super chat, Bomber.
Bomber and Hassan on their Halo, and then
it's going to be 8-on-2, and they're going to get shot an awful lot. Yeah,
all right.
and teabagged while we're at it. So, I love that we go from talking corporate talk to teabagging Halo. That's what we do here.
Oliver, you gotta keep that energy.
Graham, what's up, brother? Good to see you, Gamer Graham. Thank you for the $5 Canadian super chat. I think that is either 42 cents or $900. I don't know, but I appreciate it the same. So thank you very much. All right, so as you kind of already touched on this, but and we already did, but the Game Pass play is huge here. Yeah. They came out. What I found very interesting about this, and I'll use this as a segue to get into the big conversation, which I know people love to chatter about, is exclusives. If you notice what they said, again, one of my themes in this entire Bitcast this week is going to be listen to what is said, not what you want to hear, right? So what was said was immediately was all games from Bethesda will now launch into Game Pass on day one. They made that clear on the day they announced the acquisition. What they did not say is that all these games would be exclusive. What they said was that they're going to evaluate it on a case-by-case basis, which Phil has reiterated multiple times on multiple interviews on multiple stations now.
Yeah.
So before we get to the exclusive piece, on the Game Pass piece, and Dan, you already said this is freaking incredible, right? So
yeah, it is.
You think Elder Scrolls, Starfield, which is the Elder Scrolls team. If you're not familiar, Starfield is the sci-fi RPG coming from Todd Howard's team, the people who make Fallout and Elder Scrolls. That's coming first. Starfield, Elder Scrolls, Doom, Wolfenstein, Evil Within. The franchises go on and on. Arcane's group, right? So you've got the Dishonored devs who are now making Deathloop, and they're already announced they're working on a new AAA title as well. All of those games, if you're on Game Pass, are now included, day and date, which is Game Pass, we already said, and we already say it almost every week, is already the best value in gaming. I don't care. Anyone can debate with me if you want. It's the best value in gaming, period.
Where's the debate?
There's no debate. That's my point. There's no debate to be had.
Yeah.
The value that was just added to it, I don't even see. Now it's like on a pedestal, right? Now it's so far beyond. I think what I told Matt Piscatella, we were going back and forth on Twitter this week it was Benji Sales. But the point I tried to make is, and you said this earlier, Joseph, is in regards to Netflix. And I know they don't like hearing it's the Netflix of games, right? Because it's a little different model, what have you, whatever. But if you think about TV subscriptions nowadays, there was 5 years ago, it was, do you have Netflix, right? Nowadays, there's several subscription services. No one asks if you have Netflix anymore. You just do. Everyone has Netflix, right? What you say is, do you have Disney Plus, or do you have, I don't know, CBS streaming, whatever the other ones are, right? Yeah. But everyone just assumes you have Netflix because there's so much content. There's so many good shows that if you don't have it, it's like, what are you doing? Like, how could you not have Netflix? That is what Xbox and Microsoft are going for with Game Pass. They want to be that if you're a gamer, you have Game Pass, period. There's not even a conversation to be had. That's what they're aiming for.
Yeah. And I like the term Game Pass filler as well. I can't wait how that term evolves. Right. Because when people debate the merits of Game Pass, I'm like, guys, just stop, just knock it off. It's the dumbest thing. It's amazing. Like I don't care if they sold it to you for $1, you got it for you got all these great games for $1. Who cares? This is absolutely huge for this service, and I think you're right. I hope that they stop at the publishers and they go after I said this on the trophy room of they go after the medium to small to even the indie developers. How awesome would it be if they get Supergiant, right? And they're just like, hey, you make all these amazing games and everybody's attracted to everyone in Hades. So why don't you just take all this money and make your dream game with it?
Yeah.
That would be awesome for me, is them going after the paycheck by paycheck devs and then just giving them
it's kind of what we thought of Double Fine. Because Tim Schafer spoke about that exact thing. He's like, 50% of my job, he said this, I don't know if it's 50%, but he specifically said that a big part of his job was going around and trying to get funding so that they could make their games. And he said that is gone now. Now they just can hire who they need and make the vision that they want to make, which is incredible. When you're a developer, we know the struggles of game development. If you listen to this podcast, and your podcast, the ones who talk about this stuff, if you know the struggle of development, it's extremely costly. We see developers struggling all the time. We hear about crunch all the time. It's actually a good thing to see that Microsoft and Xbox are being so supportive of these studios, and all we hear out of these studios and the employees is positive stuff. It's been a very nice thing in that regard. So you're right.
Yeah. And even just like the Game Pass of like when people worry about, well, how's the developer getting their money? It's just like, when you hear it from like devs that get bought out by the Epic Game Store, exclusivity thing, they're just like, we don't even have to. We just make the game, like it's all paid for and then some.
Yep.
And then like with the Game Pass model, it's just like, guys, don't worry about it. It's really okay. It's benefiting us in multiple ways, not just on Game Pass, but then word of mouth, and then people buy it on other platforms. So like, there's no hidden negative thing here that a lot of people or some people want to make it out to be.
No, they're always looking for negative. You know how that goes.
You got to.
So let's jump into the biggest topic of the week: exclusives. The word exclusive. It's been with us for several years now. It's gained strength and power. It never goes away. It's like it's always the focus here. And I wrote an article on Monday. I published my article about this, and I had one opinion, and I've heard this week that especially on the Xbox side, the guys who preach Xbox all the time, have just gone nuts on exclusives. So I want to hear from you guys first, because I've got a lot to say on this. So I want to hear what you guys think first. And then I'll go, because I feel like I'm going to be talking for a little bit.
This might be his rant. For the
it's gonna be.
You go first. Because I don't want to. I may also have a rant. Who knows?
Here's the way I look at it. Phil came out and said, we're going to evaluate each one of these on a case by case basis. So you can take that two ways, maybe three. So first way, that's what he said is literally what he said, and that's how you take it. Like, so when Starfield comes out, they're going to see what the market looks like. They're going to see where they're at with their Game Pass subscriptions. They're going to see what people are adopting. Mobile gaming is humongous. Let's not, kid ourselves about it. But the largest percent of that mobile gaming are games like Candy Crush and Castle Crashers. That's a big, big chunk. Aside from something like PUBG Mobile, which is probably more akin to what these games are going to be that are on Game Pass, they're different kinds of games. So that's really their gamble at the moment, is trying to figure out, is this going to be adapted worldwide? Are you going to reach those 1.5 billion Android users, or how many of them do you have to reach, to get to the point where this is becoming profitable for you? Because there's still all those behind the scenes expenses and all that other stuff that we don't know about, because they never tell us, which is fine, and in the long run, it doesn't really matter to us. But so you can take it that way. You can say, okay, well, Starfield comes out, we're going to see what the market looks like, and then we'll decide whether or not we want to put it on something other than our platform. And really, it's Game Pass and a PC, or Xbox and PC. And then, or you can look at it like this is what he has to say right now. Because, you could say, okay, well, we've got Starfield coming out, and Sony says something, they announced some big exclusive to their platform. Well, now you've got this in the back pocket, and you can do whatever you want with it, and boom, Elder Scrolls 6 is exclusive to the Xbox and PC platform. So right now, I'm just going to kind of wait and see what, and I think that's what they're doing too, because he's a business dude. Phil knows his business. He knows it better than probably anybody that I know. You know, that's his
I
thing.
promise you, he knows it better than anybody you know.
That's the thing, you know. I mean,
He's like, I may be running Xbox, but I don't know if I know him more than this Dan guy.
Have you seen these Twitter comments though? They're pretty good.
yeah, I watched some shows. So, you know,
Anthem 2.0 guys, you think we can make this?
exactly. I mean, so it's one. I think you're going to go one way or the other. And you know, is it possible that these? Absolutely, 100%. You know, they're gonna come out and they're gonna do it the smart way. They've been doing it for a long time. They got Game Pass up and running because they saw how the market was changing. They saw how all this was evolving over time. So that's what they did, and they decided to go full bore. Now it's a matter of getting people to adopt that. Like for people like us, cloud gaming is. And playing on your phone and stuff is going to be secondary 100% of the time. You know, it's going to, if you can sit here, I'm not going to, like I told you, I play downstairs for an hour before I go to bed. I sit in my, with my wife, lay down, and she watches a Turkish soap opera, and I play on my, that's what we do. I play for an hour on my phone. It's nice to have that option, but 99.9% of the time I'm going to be playing on the big screen, and and so. Here it's going to be a little bit less, but if you look like places like we said before in Asia, India, those areas where mobile gaming is gigantic and makes so much money, that's what they're going for. And we've said this 1,000 times. That's their market they've got to hit. And it's time will tell if they do or not. If they don't, and they're not there, and they're not, and that service while expanding, they hit what 15 million now. They said.
Game Pass, yeah.
Right now, If they don't, if that is that enough? I don't know. I don't know the ins and outs enough to tell you where they need to be, for themselves, and they know those numbers. So I think they'll evaluate it as a case by case basis. I would, if I had to lean one way or the other, I'd say they'll probably be exclusive to Xbox and PC, but at the same time, I think they have options, and that's the key, really. They have options to do whatever. Basically, they want. They're in the driver's seat with these kinds of games.
Well, and even in the interview. Sorry, Dan. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No, you're good.
No, I was just echoing what you said, because even in the interview that Major Nelson held with Spencer, Todd Howard, and Pete Hines, Todd Howard even said, he mentioned Starfield. He even said it's up to Phil now. Yeah, it's his decision. It's his platform. So.
Yeah, and he could be lying to us, or he could be it could be PR speak. It could be, we're not going to. Show you our cards right off the bat. Totally possible. Yep. And that might be what's happening. Or
you don't want to. I'm sorry to cut you off. You don't want to on the midst. They're still launching these consoles. On the eve of these consoles going, they'll also come to the other platform. Like that's, you want people to you kind of want to keep them on their toes,
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. That's wrong from anyway.
Yeah.
I think that's all fair. Yeah, I think it's all fair.
Yeah, like as the PlayStation guy, I'm kind of leaning on. We're kind of looking around. It's kind of that one gift. We're like, it was for me. I'm not like a huge Bethesda person. Like I don't like Fallout that much. Not a big fan of it. Really, the one property that just has kicked ass is just Doom. For me, 2016 Eternal, fantastic.
Yeah, amazing.
Wolfenstein can't do because they make you kill a dog, right? Real talk. Spoilers, can't do that. So for me, as a PlayStation fan, hearing what Phil Spencer has said, I think they're at this point where they are either in the process of or just gotten out of evaluating each IP, where they can take their losses and where they can't. It's still a $7 billion acquisition at the end of the day. So they really have to take a look at merchandise, DLC, all the little things, the media deals, if we're looking at Fallout or even, Elder Scrolls. So they're taking a look at those two properties and going, okay, so can we take a hit here? Because a lot of people, I think, want to ignore is the fact of how dominant PlayStation's been this generation in terms of solid game sales. So they're kind of maybe looking how this generation's panning out if they could take that loss of income on. But it's really is like, it is way too early to tell. They are evaluating it, game by game basis. I think any new IP is going to be an Xbox exclusive for sure.
Okay.
But when they're talking about the Bethesda publishing arm,
yep,
they're not talking about acquiring it. When they talk about it, they talk about partnering with.
Mm-hmm.
And that language lends itself to be, okay, so you can put the Xbox like studios somewhere, that logo somewhere, but like, is the publishing arm of Bethesda, are you going to use that to use it as like a third party publishing arm? Like, instead of Moon Studios having to go to 505 or
right.
MDHR to, self-publish or whatever, can they actually just then hop over to Bethesda and do it that way? That's a question that I have in my head, because or else that's a huge redundancy in my mind, right? That publishing portion. Again, totally talking out of my butt, but that's something that I think about, is the way that they're talking about these acquisitions is a bit too early to tell. I would lean towards they're just going to take the loss. It depends on, also, I think the biggest thing is where subscriptions are by the time those games are actually ready. So like,
how you're thinking.
Exactly. So like, where does Game Pass go by the time they're out? Where is Game Pass in general? I think those are the things to think about, because if we are taking a look at Netflix, like, they still put some of their movies on the big screen. They still sell like disc versions of Stranger Things. Like, they're still in other avenues, just not as, of course, as much as their streaming line. So I think the main focus, whether they're exclusive or not, if you just think to yourself, oh, I could get Bethesda for I could get $70. If I could get Elder Scrolls for $70, or I just spent $15 and I get it, okay.
Yeah.
That's the real question. I think when we talk about the exclusivity, I think we put on those fanboy hats for a second. Like, what does this mean for Sony in terms of like, Microsoft doesn't care. They're in it to make money, and they're in it to sell Game Pass. So I think it's too early to tell. I wouldn't be, upset because it's theirs, they bought it, if they're just like, all right, all the games exclusive. But I think the majority of them will be.
Right.
Yeah. No.
I think in another point, just real quick, in at least in the beginning of the generation, you're not going to, people say you're going to be, this is perfect for the Xbox or the Xbox Series S. Well, you're still going to be losing money on that console. So then you got to realize, okay, yeah, we're going to make you come into our ecosystem by buying this Series S, which is a good value. Don't get me wrong. I think it's an extremely good value, but you're still going to be losing money on that. So there's a balance where they have to figure out now, and down the road, this is going to be a non-issue, because, the price of the tech will drop, and the cost of producing it will go down. But right off the bat, you're not looking at that. So, I mean, yeah, you want to, it's Game Pass. I mean, really, this is what they're trying to push with this purchase, right? You've got to get.
It's my favorite word, man. Ecosystem.
They got to, you got to get into the ecosystem.
Sorry.
Right now, and you can do that on PC, your phone, technically. It's just a matter of, is that going to be worth it? Do they want to, how much money do they lose versus how much are they going to gain?
That's what I'm going to touch on as well.
Right. Yeah. Like, how long, we know that there are 15 million subscribers. What does that mean exactly? Is that a year of them, or is that just the guy tried it for a month, and then stopped? I have no idea. Yeah. So, but they do. And that's really the point that I was trying to make, is that they know where they're at, and they're going to make 100%. They're going to make the best decision for themselves.
Of course.
Because at the end of the day, it's about money, baby.
It's always about money.
Yeah, it's always about money. You can say, well, they care about you because they're making all these. No, they don't. I mean, they care about your wallet. In the end of the day, period. And that's all companies.
Yep.
I mean, nobody gets into a business to lose money, period. So they're going to do what they
do. I lose money on season gaming every day.
Well, yeah, except for Ains.
Oh my God. And that's not even a joke. That's actual reality. All right. So I wanted to point this out real quick. Oh, that's badass. That's the wrong thing. I meant to put this one up from our good pal Diego. He said, Trove, check that out. That's badass.
Yeah, look at that.
That is badass. I like that.
I got this from, I think it's like a company in the UK. It literally took like 3 months for them to ship this out. So I'm very happy. Like, this is like the prized possession. I don't bring this out often.
We got to see it on Bitcast. I love it. So, well, Diego noticed it. So, yeah, so you guys touched on a few things. So I said I've got a lot to touch on here because I've been thinking a lot about this. And I've seen the YouTube comments and videos. I know some of the popular Xbox guys are talking about this, and PlayStation guys, some are much more knowledgeable and reasonable like you, Joseph. Some are just lost their damn mind. So couple points, right? First of all, it's worth recognizing that, as Dan just rightly said, this is a business. Xbox now owns these studios. They don't owe PlayStation or Nintendo anything. They just don't, right? These are theirs now. They can do with whatever they want. And the most obvious annoying thing to me when we see this conversation on the social media and echo chamber, which is another phrase I'm going to use a lot this week, is you notice how all the people are saying it's exclusive. How does it affect PlayStation? That's when you can start to see that little fanboy kind of pop up out of the shirt, right? Because Switch never gets brought up. And yet Wolfenstein, Doom, Skyrim, they're all on the Switch, and they all sell extremely well on the Switch. So it seems funny to me that all these guys care so much about whether these games go to PlayStation, never even mention the Switch. It never even comes in the conversation. And that alludes to the fact that you're looking at this with a very narrow scope, right? So the other thing is, and Dan, you started to touch on this because we've been talking about this, right? Everything that Phil and Microsoft will do here is calculated, right? Everything has a calculation behind it. Every statement, every word that is said. And that's why I said, listen to what you hear, not to what you want to hear, right? So Phil went on, and I don't know if you guys saw this because everyone's posting it now. He went on to one of the things and he said, state it again, we're going to evaluate this on a case-by-case basis. We want to make the Xbox ecosystem the best place to play, and content in these games is absolutely a part of that, right? Of course it is. That's a very obvious. He didn't even have to say that. That goes without saying, right? Everyone took that to mean, see, he just said everything's exclusive. No, he didn't. It's not what he said. You're hearing what you want to hear. You're not hearing what he said. So to your point, Dan, if you want, from a Phil's perspective, right, you now have these monstrous IPs. Elder Scrolls is one of the biggest players in the whole industry. So is Fallout, whether it's just a matter of fact, right? If you look at copies sold, Skyrim, I think, is now the either 8th or 9th best-selling game of all time. I mean, they're way up there, right? Doom's huge. We can go on and on, right? You would never, as a smart businessman like Phil, you would never come on that day and say they're all exclusive, because when you make that statement, you've now locked yourself in to an expectation from shareholders, not just your fan base, right? But shareholders, other companies, all these other things that, yes, they're exclusive. Of course, you're not going to say that, because you have these gigantic IPs like Elder Scrolls, right? And you now own them forever. They're not going away. We're not just talking about 1 or 2 years, right? We're talking about a decade from now when Elder Scrolls 6 may finally be out. That what the calculation is going to be is exactly what you guys alluded to. At that point in time, when they're prepping 6 months from release for that game and they start the marketing buzz for it, right? How many consoles has PlayStation sold, and what is their reach? How many Switches are sold, or Switch Pros, whatever? Where's Nintendo at? What's their reach? How many Game Pass subscribers do we have, and how many consoles do we have playing without Game Pass or in Game Pass? How many PC players are in Game Pass? There's a million things that'll go into that calculation to say, does it make sense financially and for the future of our Xbox and PC fan base to put this on the Switch or to put it on PlayStation? And do we do that at launch? Do we do that 6 months after launch, right? Do we do that a year from launch? And, if we do it at 6 months, how many people will then buy it on Xbox to play because they can't live without it, right? And what are those sales going to be like 6 months? Does that impact us getting a Game Pass subscription instead? Mm-hmm. So I could go on and on, right? There's a million calculations that they'll be doing behind the scenes on a case-by-case basis, as he has so clearly said, of where these games are going to land. Now, it might shock you to know Phil doesn't care about fanboys. He doesn't care. I've heard so many people, and I've even seen big name people on Twitter, as of this morning, post this statement. They didn't spend $7.5 billion to put games on PlayStation. No, that's a stupid statement. I don't care who said it. It's a dumb statement. No, they didn't spend $7.5 billion to lose money.
Yeah, that's
the statement. So, and I'm turning red because I'm getting mad. It's about money. Okay. Yeah. The fanboy Twitter wars that are going on over here don't matter. No one cares.
You have to, like, to me, it's like you got to take a step back and understand this. When you're taking a look at like these IPs, you're dead on the money here. Stop. We got to stop the conversation of, right, how many consoles is Elder Scrolls 6 going to sell? Instead, you have to take a look at how many subscribers to Game Pass do we have? How valuable can we make this? Because to me, the more valuable you make something like Game Pass to be, the more other companies like Nintendo are going to look at, well, maybe we actually need to put this on our platform. Like, I think Microsoft's main idea is to get this on as many boxes as we can. We've known that they've had conversations with Nintendo about it, and somewhere along the line, the lead got lost. But you're also taking a look at like TVs. You're taking a look at like, can we put it on a Fire Stick? What type of deal can we somehow, get with Apple? Knock on wood, they're both playing hardball, but like, can we get this on whatever Google thing? I'm not a Google guy, so whatever like Google, Apple TV they got, like that's the thing that people have to stop thinking about the boxes sold. Microsoft's so over that they don't care, and they also don't care about your feelings as well, one way or the other.
They really don't.
Like, Phil Spencer is not calling you up when you get sick. Like Phil Spencer is trying to make money here. And so, like, you're dead on the money, man. It's not about selling the box.
And let's be clear, right? A Game Pass subscriber, if they look at the market and say, I don't know, whether it's 6 months at launch, whatever, right? If they look at the market and evaluate that, hey, this person who traditionally owns only a Switch and PlayStation, right, would buy Elder Scrolls, right? That's going to give us 30% of that $60 sale or whatever the calculation is, et cetera. But if their data shows that person who's on PlayStation is willing to subscribe to Game Pass and play that game on PC or buy a Series S or on their phone, to Dan's point, whatever it is at that moment in time, if they feel that person will subscribe to Game Pass instead of buying that on PlayStation, make no mistake, that game will stay exclusive, right? But that's just the fact of it. It's going to come down to what that calculation is. And that calculation is very different for every game that's going to release. That calculation for Elder Scrolls 6 is way different than it's going to be for Evil Within 3. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Every game, it's a case-by-case basis.
Listen to what the man is saying, not what you want to hear. Okay? Mm-hmm. So it's just a matter of fact. I'll save this for grinding gears because echo chamber. But one last thing that I do find funny about all of this is, all we've heard for years, this is now on the Xbox side, right? The pro Xbox side is we have heard that Xbox has no exclusives. And we've also heard, well, it doesn't matter. I'll just play that on PC. What's changed? Why is this? If you're playing all these games on PC, what's the problem? Why would you care about Bethesda? Go play it on your PC.
Exactly.
It's interesting how that's jumped up this week as major concern now, even though they supposedly have $1,000 PCs all over the place.
Yeah, and like to me, it's funny because like my one co-host yesterday, he was like this week he was just like, I don't like this, I don't like it one bit, because he is a Bethesda, he likes their games, and like his first Xbox ever was an Xbox One X. Like, wow. So like he is true. Like for me, I'm just like, I could play it on my PC. It's probably where I'm gonna get the best experience, best mods. And he's just like, no, I don't like this. This makes me sad. And for me, I'm just like, no, I'll play it somewhere else. It's fine. And the reasonable folks, like I felt like this week on the Trophy Room, we were more passionate about it than our fans were, because a lot of people were just like, yeah, this is fine. I'm like,
That's pretty.
All right.
Well, that means you've gained a good audience. That's what that
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, we like to weed out the trash.
No, and I feel the same way. I see our chat's really going. And sorry, chat, we've been so passionate. I haven't really included much of chat this week, but we always say the same about our group here. I mean, that you don't see the arguing and debates and nonsense in our chat. Our community is fantastic. So, but that's the point. The point I just wanted to make is, sure, they could be full exclusives without a doubt. Without a doubt, they could be. But to assume that that's locked and step and done deal is a mistake right now. That's not how business works. The market is going to change drastically over the next several years and will continue to. And as these studios and IPs and games evolve over those years, they'll reevaluate frequently as to what they're doing with these games. They have that capability. It's not even a hard thing to understand. I mean,
it's not. And the one thing, and then I'm done here, is what I always try to tell people that are like, put on the tinfoil hat is like, first off, Alex Jones, take it off. We're gonna talk for a sec. Like, it's not about what you feel, right? Take your feelings out of it. Divorce your feelings. Divorce what you want in the best expectation. What you're hoping for. Take that out. What's realistic? What's actually, what would benefit both sides? What would benefit this company? And ask those tough questions with yourself, like, what's the true benefit of locking it in? What's the true benefit of not?
Correct.
And
that's exactly what they're going to do.
And and so, when I see these people like say those things, it was like, guys, come on. All right, settle down. I get it, you're happy. Yeah. Just settle it down. Same with the PlayStation folks. I get you're upset. So we all really like those glitchy games. But hey, don't worry about it. They're making a new engine, just settle down.
Yeah.
It is something that I don't feel enough people do, is like, divorce your feelings from it.
Yeah. Well, we say it all the time. At the end of the day, we're the ones that benefit, all of us, because we're playing the games. Yeah. And if you're an Xbox only fan right now, it's a great time to be an Xbox only fan. It just is. I mean, they're crushing it with the studios and service and Game Pass, and the Series X and S are amazing consoles. I mean, it's a great time. But to your point, you can celebrate that and be happy about it without losing sight of just reality. You know what I mean?
Bigger picture. Yeah.
I don't know, man. I mean, you can. I'm going to break this down for chat. All right. That we can all understand. When I was 18 years old, I worked at Subway sandwiches. You know what we had? We had white and wheat bread. That's it. 7 or 8 years later, they had like 7 different kinds of breads.
That's right.
Well, you know what happened? They found out people weren't eating them. All right. So now they only have 3 kinds of breads and also wraps, but mostly just 3 kinds of breads. All right. People change. This isn't the only business where this.
Do they still have honey oat?
No.
It's asking the real questions. Asking the real questions.
Italian herbs and cheese, and Italian and wheat. That's all they have. And then like 2 different kinds of wraps.
I can mess with the herbs and cheese. I could do that. But
you lost me. You lost me. Our $5 has to go somewhere else. Everyone in chat. Subway's out.
Happening.
Dang it.
What? Because you got the.
I got rid of honey oat bread, man. I'm done with it.
You know why? Because nobody was buying them. You've got to adapt to the market. It's not just in the gaming industry. It's in the Subway industry. It's everywhere. You see it all the time. People aren't going to keep throwing money at stuff or putting their money toward in certain different ways. When it's not profitable to them. Yeah, that's it. I mean, it's.
Well, and the funny thing is, you're talking about bread at Subway, and yet the reality's the same, right? Other than a $7.5 billion deal, right?
I think also a lot of people have to realize that, like, when you get to this level of business, they don't even know what they're selling. They like, real talk, like, you could equate like Subway like to Xbox. It's about their product. What is the product they're selling? Usually half the time, like Phil, I believe him. He'll play a video game. But do I really think, in my heart of heart, Jim right now has his headset on playing Call of Duty, cursing out a 9-year-old? No. He's
probably sacrificing a goat or something.
Exact, dude. Definitely. Best case scenario, it's a goat. So like, it's to me, it's like it is all about that profit. It is all about maximizing said profit. And when you take your feelings out of it and just understand that they're a business, everything gets a lot more simple.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't. It's hard. And Beezy, what's up, brother? Subway, I get honey oat all the time. See, See, we're done with Subway. Boycott Subway, cancel Subway.
Subways.
Canceling Subway. Hashtag.
Uncanceling Subway?
Yeah.
Listen, also, really quick shout out. Bring back the U-Gouge Subway. I don't know what the hell you got rid of that for. That was the best thing in the world. The U-Gouge. You don't remember the U-Gouge where they cut it and they made like a U and you took
Oh, that's true. Yeah. When did they that made it so that every bite was even?
Right. Exactly. And also the meatballs just sat in that nice little gouge and didn't fall out all over the place. What in the hell?
I remember, yeah.
The U-Gouge.
Those were I think that was peak Subway.
Yeah.
I see Boom in the house. What's up, brother? Good to see you.
Up?
Boom, happy 50th. You know what's funny, Boom? Look
Yeah,
at
dude, happy birthday. I'm a bad friend. I totally saw it. I was going to tweet you something and boom, right out of my head.
The funniest, look at this, right? He joins, he's the 50th live person in chat.
What?
Meant to be.
It's meant to be.
So
Happy birthday, man.
So let's where were we here? Man, we got all over that one. So short-term impact. So Hassan, I like Hassan's latest. We'll put this up. Thank you, sir. Cancel Dan, cancel Subway. I'm in on both. Let's double down.
I am going to Subway tonight.
Dude, one step further.
U-Gouge.
Cancel Quiznos.
I'm with you. They're a waste of time. Yeah.
Don't dip your sandwich in nothing. All right.
I love how we could go from like literal analysis of a corporation's profits and ROI statements to quiz and bread.
Yeah.
We bring it all to you guys. We bring it all.
That's what I'm talking.
All right. So I wanted to touch real quick on the short-term and long-term impact here. And we've really covered most of this, but short-term impact, Doom Eternal is going into Game Pass as of October 1st. So, hey, we're already seeing benefit. And now we're starting to already see as well, Bethesda games that were in Game Pass that were scheduled to leave are not leaving anymore. Dishonored 2 being the prime example here. So obviously it goes without saying, you're going to start to see Wolfenstein, Evil Within's, all those Bethesda games, they'll be in Game Pass very, very soon. You can plan on it. The only reason Doom Eternal got announced so quickly is because it's obviously the kind of the one that has the biggest impact right now because it was a release this year. And
isn't it the most badass thing seeing all the like Doom and Halo crossovers?
It's amazing. It's amazing.
You're going to see that armor in multiplayer.
Oh, 100%.
I will lose my shit.
100%. Well, you know, if you've been playing Doom Eternal, they've been having all those funny armors through Twitch Prime, you know, that you can get. I'm hoping they add a Mark 7 Spartan armor to it. I think that'd be great.
Dude, it would be so awesome if like somehow they sneak it in canon that like Doom Guy's armor is a Mark series, like
a little Easter egg.
Yeah,
be amazing. I'm looking for the. I was trying to put this up because I've posted this picture like 20 times this week just because I love it so much.
So good,
so awesome.
Like that is, like that means a lot. I like just so many gamers everywhere. Like Doom is first person shooters, and I think Halo to a lot of us is like, man, that's my superhero right there. And like, so you're seeing them both there. It just it blows my mind.
Doom was the game that got me into PC gaming. Actually, I'm not going to get into that story, but I saw Doom running in a store in '93, I think it was, right? And when I saw that, I just was mesmerized. It's just, it was world changing. So long-term impact, you know, we actually already touched on the one aspect, which is the focus of making Game Pass that monthly kind of avenue for all games, right? So then they can say that, you know, of course, the statement lines up with the business, going back to the business. We talked about how Phil has said, I want to have a first-party release every month in Game Pass. And as we already said, that could range from smaller to, I think you're spot on, Joseph, with probably every quarter having a big release, right? So like every third month would be a big first-party release. But if you're having a fresh first-party exclusive release every month, right? It goes without saying, Game Pass is a monthly service. That's how you lock people in. And, you know, again, Netflix is the same way. Every week you turn on Netflix, there's a new series, there's a new movie, there's a new something, you know, it's just content. Content is king.
Yeah.
So anyway, I
watched that Sherlock Holmes movie last night.
Which one?
Enola Holmes.
Is any good?
It's all right. I wanted to see more Henry Cavill, but we got the girl from Stranger Things.
Yeah, I forget her name.
I'm just like, man, I can't wait to see her as Princess Leia one day. You know, God willing.
Whoa.
They make that Star Wars series.
Whoa.
But like, yeah, Like that's the cool thing about Netflix is like 1 month you get Tiger King, the next month you get this sophisticated British film,
Yeah. It's always something new. So, Walt coming in with a super chat. What's up, Walt? That'll pop up in a second. I'll get to that. So I wanted to, and again, perfect time having you on, Joe, around the narrative on PlayStation. So without, again, removing feelings and not turning this into a negative thing. But I don't know about you guys, but we talked about some of this in the past 2 weeks, Joseph, around, PS5 looks great. I could rant about Demon Souls. I am so excited for that. It just, don't get me started. But overall, it feels like there's a narrative shift that's beginning to happen here. And that PlayStation isn't, I don't know how to say this. It feels like they're, where you look at Xbox and forget the acquisition even, right? But you look at Xbox with the way they're being as transparent as they can be, both from hardware, from services, from what they're working on, etc. How things are going to work, storage solutions, bring in your controllers for it, all these things. With PlayStation, it's like we know the PS5's coming in November. I'm pumped about Demon Souls. Spider-Man's going to be a monster hit. Everyone knows that. But it seems to be they're starting to feel like they're not progressing, I guess is the best way to say it, right? Mm-hmm. They're not thinking about this generation differently. It feels like they're really kind of digging their heels into the old way, what I would call the old way of communicating with their fans and delivering a platform, right? So it feels like we're getting a new console, we're getting these new games. We don't know all the details yet. We don't know really what's changing. PS Now hasn't even been talked about. I mean, I thought by now we'd start to see an evolution of what they're going to do with PS Now to make it more attractive with the PS5. Hasn't even been mentioned. So I really want to get your perspective as someone who follows this super closely on how you feel the Jim Ryan-led PlayStation brand is coming into this next generation. And your thoughts on it and what you'd like to see. But are you feeling that same sense of narrative shift?
Absolutely. I think part of it is like every generation, the narrative kind of shifts one way or the other.
It really does.
Things tighten. So like when I take a look at the Jim Ryan setup, first off, gotta stop talking, man. You really just gotta shut you down. But like when I take a look at like the people he's put in place, they are more than qualified to lead those certain things. So where you take a look at Herman Hulse leading first party, you're taking a look at Shu that's leading indies. These are people that are really good at. Oh God, he's amazing. One day I meet him. One day we'll have him on the show. That's our mission. That's our real goal at the end of the day. But he's put in really talented folks that are really good at their jobs. So part of me goes, okay, so like it looks like it's a well-oiled ship. I think part of this weird roller coaster of a year is like there are like these tidal waves of like good news for Xbox, and then all of a sudden we don't have Halo Infinite, right? Like good news for PlayStation, then suddenly we don't know a goddamn thing about backwards compatibility. And like we're excited for Spider-Man, it's a DLC. Like there's just so many things that we get like either pumped for and then just deflated. So I think part of it has to do with the whole COVID, how that's affected everything. Yeah. The other part of it is, I think they are complacent in a sense. Like, I don't think this is arrogant Sony. I think this is a slower Sony now. Like arrogant Sony would never do crossplay, but they were very much forced into it. Like they could not back out of that. So seeing them adapt to those changes, I'm optimistic about. The one thing that I'm constantly jealous of Xbox, it is really the thing I am jealous of as a person that covers Sony, is Xbox's social media just kills. It just
slays crushing it right now. Yeah.
Constantly. I'm a PR person, so I'm taking a look at like Xbox got personality. PlayStation, for me, does not whatsoever. It is very vanilla. So on one part, I think resting on their laurels, I think in terms of like, well, PS4 worked out for us because our first party just absolutely killed it. So if we could just keep that momentum from our first party, carry it first with Spider-Man, having Horizons come out next year, God of War, whenever that's not 2021, come on. So like having those studios already pump out what I can assume are going to be smaller experiences, but experiences that'll get you into the door, that their games are why I'm still on that platform. And I think it's why so many people are excited for that platform, because they just killed this generation with them. Yep. So on that end, I'm totally fine, optimistic even. But it is what Jim Ryan says constantly. It's like, I think PlayStation would have been in a way better place if Jim Ryan never said we believed in generations. We would be in a much better place if they just actually doubled down with Microsoft and said, hey, yeah, no, we're about a smooth transition. Because I remember seeing a piece, and after seeing it, I'm like, yeah, like that is, because I bought into it. I'm like, yeah, give me Generations, man. I don't need this. And seeing a piece of like, you can't simply ignore the PS4. It is way too big of an install base for you to just go after 1 or 2 years. Goodbye. Like, no, it's still going to be here for a minute because of how super successful it is.
Yeah. So to your point, PS2, the most successful console of all time, lived on for over a decade.
Yeah, I think it just like shy of 2 or like 2 or 3 years
in some smaller markets. Yeah.
So like
carried on forever. Yeah.
I remember working at GameStop and they were still doing like constant Madden and FIFA releases for that thing. It was like the Just Dance equivalent. So, you know, when I hear like Jim Ryan say half the things he says, I'm just like, dude, why are you talking? Why? You're so bad at it. It's like, even reading the quotes, I could just see the shaky cam on his face. Like, it's just, that is where I don't have confidence in Sony. It's just the way Jim talks and the way he tries to position his brand. Even when he's talking about Series S, like when he's just like, oh, underpowered consoles generally don't sell. I'm like, really? PS2, PS1, any 3DS? Like, no, they do perform. There was like 15 better things to say than what you said. Mm-hmm. So to me, I think they are kind of stuck in the past of what worked for PlayStation. But another part is like, they can't be as nimble as Microsoft. They're just Microsoft, the way that they've positioned their brand. Sony does not have the capital to go out there and buy a publisher. So to me, I'm looking at Sony going, all right, it seems like you are resting on your laurels a bit. Luckily, those laurels are pretty dang strong. Like, Spider-Man's going to sell units.
Yeah.
So I need to see, hopefully in the next few weeks, I'm betting next week, that we're going to see, I mean, Travis Scott, I learned that he exists. He has a DualShock. I'm hoping we see more creators have this console, do the unboxings like Xbox has. We see the UI, and then we see what details that we should be getting excited for this thing are. Like, does it have fast resume? Because I think what we've seen from Sony is any generation, this transition would be totally on par. Like, they're giving you backwards compatibility. That's awesome. You don't tend to see that anymore. Yeah. But then you take a look at what Microsoft's doing, and it's just like, yeah, we're also going to make most of the games look and run better as well. You're like, Sony? And they're like, we can't do that.
That speaks to the depth and the strength of having Microsoft as your backing company, right? Because you've got teams of engineers that have spent years working on that software, and Sony just doesn't have those resources.
It's what happens when you're a hardware company facing a software giant.
Exactly right.
And so, like,
exactly right.
This is definitely the David and Goliath realistic fight, where Goliath is going to beat the crap out of you. But luckily, for some reason in this market, you are just completely dominant. And it comes down to the fact of people nostalgic for your brand and IP.
Yeah.
And so,
and they're globally, they're in more markets. I mean, PlayStation has that strength too.
Yeah. So to me, I'm kind of like both sides of like, I'm optimistic because the games have been stellar until they stop being stellar. Then I'll stop being optimistic. But on the other hand, it's like doing things good, but Microsoft just doing them better. and not showing us enough, and not being more transparent with the audience. Because I think the thing that has aggravated a lot of people is the pre-order bonus, the pre-order situation, because they gave no heads up. It was a complete disaster. And look, were things somewhat similar on the Xbox side? Yeah, I still don't really have mine. I know a lot of people that still don't have theirs, but you know what people keep saying? Hey, at least he gave me a time and a date, and it was on my own time, and I didn't get it, but hey, I'm still excited. Like I'm there's gonna be a wave 2, wave 3. I'll get on that then. Yeah. Like, it's just the talking is where Jim really.
So don't talk, Jim.
Yeah. So Dan, real quick, let me get to Walt's super chat because we missed it. So all the corporate talk excites me to play Corpo and Cyberpunk. That's kind of funny, actually. Also, I'm getting $1 for every foot length that is the PS5. There you go. That's pretty accurate. Thank you, Walt, very much for the $10 super chat, man. Appreciate
Do you guys think, like, real honest? Yeah. Do you guys think the reason why they haven't shown the console off in person is because they know it's gigantic compared to?
Well, I mean, that's probably part of it.
I think that's a small piece of it. And I made a joke, which probably isn't even appropriate this week. But, this week we're supposed to see from what I heard, Japanese YouTubers get the PS5, and they're going to be some of the first ones to handle the console in person. I was like, if I'm Sony, man, I'm handing that to Samoans or something. You got to make that console look smaller. Because that console it's big. It's very big.
It's what I said on the trophy room as well. Is it's like, why are we just doing it to the Japanese audience? Why aren't we giving it to an Austin Evans or like also someone in the UK? Like, why aren't we making this a global thing?
Yeah,
like,
and I also, when I think about console breakdown for the first time, right? I look at places like Digital Foundry. Give me someone who can break a console down and talk about why things are designed the way it is, pull it apart, talk about where things are. A Japanese YouTuber, like, that's not who I'm looking to for the first thing I want to see on actually the hardware being in person. Seems weird to me.
I am interested though to see how like the Japanese YouTuber experience is, like, real talk, because like look at the American YouTube, like, toxicity and like super energetic, like just did a bump before they put on the camera. So like, I'm wondering how that's gonna look and pan out for us. But like, like, we need to put this in more markets than just the Japanese audience. It's hopefully again we see Travis Scott. I learned that he's a rapper and he has his own meal at McDonald's.
Yeah, and did you see Keely responded to him and said, "Welcome to the club"?
Keely, you know his best friend's Kojima, right?
He wishes.
But
Dan, go ahead. I just wanted to say, hearing you talk for a couple minutes there, Joseph, about the perspective of the narrative on PlayStation is so refreshing. It's so refreshing to listen to someone talk for their love of PlayStation in a realistic manner without bringing in bullshit.
I hope it wasn't too ranty, because I have so many conflicting feelings on it, because I am optimistic on one side, but like the other side, I'm like, dude.
But I think that's being honest. Yeah. I think any of us that like PlayStation and have been with it forever, Dan, I have 3 PS5s pre-ordered. I mean, I'm going to be there on day one, but I mean, it's not going to change anything I do with buying the game or the system. But again, look at it, call a spade a spade. They need to be more transparent. Some of the things Jim Ryan has said is idiotic. He just shouldn't be saying those things. So I agree with you.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, Dan. You've been sitting there for a while. What do you think about the narrative on PlayStation? I know we've talked offline about this, but I know it doesn't. You've been very clear. It doesn't impact, like I just said, buying it, pump for Spider-Man because you're a huge Spider-Man guy. But what do you think from a market perspective? Are you seeing this? Are you feeling that there's this shift?
Yeah, I mean, I said it before. Don't get penisy, and that's basically what they're doing. You can't sit there and just assume that and this has been basically the whole show. You have to evaluate the market and make adjustments as needed. Every company needs to do that. Sony is not, they're not some like super company that can do no wrong, So they also have to do the same thing, and I want them to, because it's going to affect, me down the road, and I think they will, And I said it, I think last week, I think they could have came out and sold the 2 new consoles at a little bit higher price. But, at that time I said that. Now that Bethesda is in, the stable at Xbox, probably would have been a terrible idea. Now, I come back to the needle, that needle just didn't move for a long, long time. And now it has. And so now you have to, if I'm Jim Ryan right now, I'm probably sitting there like, shit.
And that's a real, like if I'm Jim Ryan, I'm like, fuck, like, what do we need to buy? Like,
from what I've seen online, it doesn't sound like Ubisoft is for sale. I think Jeff Grubb said something like that, or they don't want to sell. And then I think he also said something to, where Activision and something like EA, they just wouldn't be worth what you had to pay for them.
Yeah.
If they
and Ubisoft is not only growing, but Ubisoft puts their games freaking everywhere. I mean, they're on Stadia, for God's sakes.
Right. And they just signed some huge deal with Amazon because they're going to have that extra service with that Luna thing.
Yeah.
So it's as long as, like I said before, we don't come into a point where it's so consolidated that basically we run out of big AAA third-party studios where, it's always, you're always going to have some, right? But, I can give a shit less about EA and Activision, really, because, it's except for Madden, but even then,
honestly, someone needs to buy EA so I can get that Dead Space remake, remaster.
Come on, man!
Yeah,
or buy the IP from them, for God's sakes.
Please.
By the way, Dan, I added this to our repertoire just for you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Such a good one.
That's the thing. We've got but this is why we have multiple companies like this, to push one another to the next thing. We see it every gen. It just seems like flip flop, and Xbox was due really for some big news. And now that they've got the backing of the higher ups, and now that they've got the money to basically do, they've had it. They just get that authorization. Like, this is what we're going to do. And like Joseph said earlier, it's getting this is we're a service based company, so when Phil went in there and probably he said, okay, let's see what we can do. We all win in the end, so that's really the most important thing. I think, I'd like to see more. Like, I don't know anything about the PS5 aside from, it plays Spider-Man. So that's the biggest thing.
I run a PlayStation show, and that's about it, man. Everything's a question mark.
I can blow into the controller. And that's what I got, man.
It goes back to the transparency conversation,
right? We're getting so close, right? We're getting to a point where we're almost just a month away.
Yeah, it's creeping up, and I think the contrast is interesting too, because if you look at the beginning of the PS4 generation, when they first showed it, they had the Wired article. Then Sony, they did the stage presentation. Sony was confident. They were confident, and they were communicating and saying, "This is where you're going to play." We're not seeing that right now. We're just seeing, it feels like they're on their back heel. And to Joseph's point, they have the goodwill of the PS4 generation and that foundation they built with their IPs and the talk around how good their games are. And it's not just talk, it's reality. I think that does a ton for you on the market. But as we saw with the PS2 generation going into PS3, that's not impenetrable. And it's not forever, right? Things shift. So you can't assume that, your fans are just going to be there day and date right away chanting PlayStation, and rest, to your point, rest on your laurels. I think you said it well, Joseph.
It's kind of seemed like the one thing that I like to say a lot is like Xbox is pretending to be the market leader. Like they're not. Right, like in terms of market, like it's vastly PlayStation, but they're doing the things that are just changing the conversation. That's leading the charge. Whether it's smart delivery, whether it is Game Pass, whether it is like things like the Series S Bethesda deal. Like they're doing all these really huge moves to fight for your dollar, where we're not nearly seeing that with PlayStation's angle. I think for a second there, when Halo Infinite was confirmed to be out of launch, I think Jim Ryan sighed a collective sigh of relief in that boardroom. But now I see Sony as reacting to what Xbox is doing. I'm very interested into how they react.
Yeah.
What do they say? Like, is it appropriate for right now for them to just go, "Hey gang, remember Housemarque? Yeah, we bought them." Like Blue Point, yeah, they're part of the team. Like, like how does Sony react to or do they even to see Microsoft just obtain Bethesda? How do they react to? I mean, we've seen them kind of sort of react to Game Pass by dropping the price of PS Now, but like, how do you react to what this company that could outspend you any day of the week? You really have to be nimble, and you have to be extra careful with your messaging. So I'm really hoping this past week was the learning experience that they needed to do, where they're like, "Hey Jim, buddy, we love what you're doing, but we're gonna let Herman talk." Like, do do those things that you need to gain that confidence back. Like, hopefully, maybe because the whole Sony thing, or sorry, Spider-Man thing is just completely bullcrap. Like, maybe they just go back and go, "Hey gang, we listened. You're right. It doesn't make sense. That does smell bad. So we're going to fix that for you." Hopefully they start reacting that way, because the past 2 weeks have been, not to say like, "Oh, this is the worst thing ever." The consoles are selling out, but like comparatively to what Microsoft has done, they've had their biggest week ever, and we're just seeing PlayStation just sit back on.
Yeah,
Just nervous.
I kind of compared this earlier this week to, like, you take like a team like the New England Patriots in the NFL. You build up. They won like what, 6 championships in like a matter of 11 years or whatever. Your fans of those teams are willing to take a little bit more, because you consistently produce, and you produce at a high level. So I think fans of Sony are kind of the same way. You're just like, well, you've given us all this stuff. Some of this stuff I'm questioning, but they have, I don't want to say it's not blind trust. They've proven what they can do, over this generation. They've shown what they can bring to the table, and people have every right to be, and they should be, completely happy with that. But, guess what? Tom Brady's gone now, so you come in, what are you going to do now that you're seeing all these other teams make these moves to counter what you're doing? And
are you saying that Sean Layden was Tom Brady?
No. I don't know who that Tom Brady was. Tom Brady was just the guy. But Xbox, you look at like a team that is challenging, like the Kansas City Chiefs, our hometown. It's like, okay, now we've got Patrick Mahomes over here, Xbox, and this is what we're doing to counter your dynasty. And now you need to be a little bit worried. Now you have to kind of figure out, where do we go from here, and what moves can we make? And you need the right people in the right positions. So at the same time, it's going to be awesome to see what happens. And I'm just super excited to be able to, fortunate enough to be able to play everything I want to play.
That's the NFL analogy is not one I expected, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks.
I'll just say sports.
I think you're right, though, and to your final point there, sorry to interrupt a bit, but yeah, we collectively as gamers are better off when these companies are in these positions, right? That's Xbox as a platform is where they are now. And we get to talk about them being a lot better than they were 5 years ago because of getting punched in the mouth. That's what happened. PlayStation came out and punched them in the mouth.
Yep.
And Xbox had a big wake-up call. And, Sony's not getting punched in the mouth. They're going to be fine. PlayStation will be fine.
I love the conversations of like, Xbox did this thing, PlayStation doomed. Like, PlayStation did this thing, Xbox destroyed forever. It's like, no, that's not how it went. No, like a company doesn't make $8 billion 1 year and then just zero the next. Like, that's not how that works at all.
No. Again, business perspective, right? Get to some super chat. We got a bunch of comments here. So Pampa, first of all, I don't even know what this 10 means. It's like $5 too much. So he said, do you guys think there's more coming from Xbox before launch? What should Sony do next? Also, Anthem 2.0 ecosystem echo chamber exclusives. I have nothing. So I guess we can get into launch lineups too. From what Sony should do next, I think we probably already touched on this because he posted this comment like 10 minutes ago. But I think, Joseph, you touched on it. The conversation that's probably going on right now from Jim Ryan's perspective is with his leadership, right? Yoshida, the actual leadership of Sony, talking about probably the same conversation or similar to what Phil had to do years ago, in that if we're going to keep this PlayStation brand as being the powerful global brand it is, and you want to continue investing in it and growing in it and making it part of Sony, there's a serious conversation to be had, right? They need to continue investing as well. That's probably the conversation that's going on right now, if I had to guess.
And I'm figuring the strategy is way smaller studios and invest in them, or continue to make, like, I saw in the chat, like, the Silent Hills, the Metal Gears, go for those, somewhat, not talked about, or what is it? Dormant. There you go. IPs and go after them. Yeah. I think that's what you have to do if you're Sony, if you don't have that cachet Microsoft has.
Yeah, agree. Beezy said I could have said basketball players. That would have been a lot smarter. Beezy, I don't know where you were before I made the Samoan statement. I could have used you. So there's a lot of Golgo 13 chat going on, Dan. I don't know what you've called here.
Man, Duke Togo's in the chat, man. It's awesome.
Who?
It's awesome. Duke. Yeah, I can't even talk to you. Get out of here, Banjo.
No. I'm trying to look through the comments. I didn't hear what you said.
Oh, I saw Duke Togo.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. Welcome.
He's in there. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, good chat group this week, man. Guys, appreciate you stopping by. Phasma came in with the $4.99 super chat. Ains, stream Sekiro, please. We've talked about this. The answer, the $4.99, it would be a much larger super chat that would have to get me to stream Sekiro. Whiskers is not for sale. Whiskers doesn't sell out. But thank you for the super chat. I did see Togo. Speaking of which, sorry, I'm trying to scroll through everything, guys. Here, this would be a big thing. I mean, Blue Point has shown they are incredibly talented, and I think we're about to see that again with Demon Souls, because it looks, in my opinion, Demon Souls is the most next gen looking thing we've seen.
Yeah,
probably next to Ratchet and Clank. Both of those look incredible. But yeah, you're talking about Metal Gear Solid. We're hearing Silent Hill. To your point, dormant IPs can play a huge role in the industry.
And here's the thing too, if I could just chime in, I like if this is the way that Sony's going about it, I really hope it is like, let's work with the studio first, see if we can work with each other a bit, have that relationship already, ironed out, and like purchase them like we did with Insomniac. Like Blue Point, I think, is just a no-brainer at this point. They've worked with each other so much that it's just like, you might as well be part of the team already. And I think that also goes for Housemarque as well. They've worked with Sony so much in the past.
Great studio.
Put them in that staple.
And while we're at it, we're talking about $7.5 billion deals. Insomniac was bought for $229 million. That is a steal. I mean, that's the biggest bargain for a developer I've seen. Meanwhile, they're the only developer who's showing us, well, Blue Point we just talked about, but between Ratchet and Clank and Spider-Man, they're driving the PS5 right now. You know what I mean? They're a single developer that they bought for $200 million. It's crazy.
Yeah.
All right. So anything else on PlayStation, guys, or we're going to jump over to the Lunatics?
Yeah.
Let's do the Lunatics.
So we have to talk about it because it may not feel like much at this moment in time, but this is a signaling. We've heard for a while that Amazon is getting into the gaming space. Obviously Google is there now with Stadia. To what level we can debate. But Luna is coming. Luna is Amazon's entry into the game streaming space. It's a very similar setup in a way to consumers as Stadia is. The back end infrastructure is a little different. But same thing. It's going to start off as a $6 a month subscription. That's just the introductory price. I assume it'll probably go to 10 or 15. They do have a controller that's dedicated for it that you can buy for $49.99. Some of the games they've talked about earlier, Resident Evil 7, Grid, Yooka-Laylee, some of these games that aren't really AAA new titles, but they're quality titles. Over 100 games at launch. And so not so much this initial offering, guys, but just the fact that it's coming, right? Amazon is investing into the gaming space. They plan to grow it. I think it was Jeff Grubb said something yesterday, like there was supposed to be another part of this announcement, which was a device of some sort, but they pushed it back. They took it back at the last minute. So Amazon could very well be, to your point, Dan, we've talked about this a lot, like some type of Fire Stick for gaming, right? Something that's just plug and play and connect. So, this signals, like I said, more to the future. The big players are coming. Google, Amazon, Microsoft are the ones to pay attention to in the cloud gaming space. And the next, all I said to this initially was make no mistake, the next 3 to 5 years, gaming's going to evolve greatly. So you should be prepared for it. But what do you guys think about this, finally seeing Amazon throw their hat in?
I just don't want it to become all that, I want to, we always want to keep our, consoles. We want to make sure that happens. This should be like something that's supplemental.
Consoles and discs, am I right?
Right. Yeah. Get it on. So anyway, as the Luna fanboy, this, first of all, Stadia is fine, except Google has a tendency to just leave things behind for no reason. It's like, let's see what happens. So I have zero faith in them and that will continue to grow. They have the infrastructure to do it and they've got the money to do it, but it all depends on it seems like Google is like, if we don't see like instant profit and instant, engagement, then fuck it. We're out. I've got Google Fiber here, and in a matter of like a year, it just went from like, okay, we're going to push this on everybody. Now you can barely get somebody to come out and help you. It's still here, and they're still supporting it, and they still got some stuff coming, but it just seems like,
to your point, they canceled all their expansion plans with it.
Yeah, they canceled all their expansion plans. Now I'm kind of sitting here in an area where it's like, okay, well, if they go away, I guess I got like AT&T's got theirs and Comcast, but I hate both those companies.
I have Spectrum, and it's garbage.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah,
such a piece of shit.
So then you have Amazon coming in. I actually had Stadia, the whole Founders Edition or whatever, pre-ordered, ready to go.
I remember.
Yeah, and then about a month out, I was just like, you know what, this is not looking good. The more they showed, because it was so all over the place, right? You could buy your games, you had to, you could get the subscription service where it gave you access to, and it wasn't cheap really by any means. It's another. I've already paid for Game Pass.
Yeah.
This what Amazon came out with was $6.99. Is that right? Or
$5.99 at first.
$6.
Yeah.
And then you got to buy the controller. I'm assuming right off the bat. So that's $50. It's still cheaper than their Stadia.
I don't think you have to.
Oh, you don't have to?
I don't think it's required. I think they said they have it there if you need one, but I think you can Bluetooth.
Oh, okay. Well, then even better. So $6. They have a pretty decent stable of games right off the bat. With some. And then they've got a potentially, it depends on how much it costs really, but I mean, there's Ubisoft is working with them to get games like Valhalla and Far Cry and Legion day and date upon release, on your TV. Now, I still, I've got gigabit internet, I've got unlimited, I have no data caps. Yep. So this isn't going to be a problem for me, and my signal is pretty strong. So it's not like I got to worry about, I could probably stream it at their highest quality.
Right.
Now it's just a matter of, do I need this on top of something else that I already have? Are they coming a little bit too late, or are they coming in, just at the right time? Because now, with what Xbox has done with xCloud, and I'm always going to call it that, regardless of what they change it to, they've kind of, shown what it can be and what kind of value they can get on it. Because it's not just there. Once we start seeing it come on TVs. Maybe next year where we start getting the app native to certain televisions, or even on, like you said, a Fire Stick or Roku or whatever, then if that happens, and it probably will, because there's no reason for it not to. I'm not sure why they've waited so long anyway, but and it works. That's always the key. It's got to work well. Then you've got a lot of different options, and you've got, if you're just a casual gamer, $6 sounds pretty good, for whatever you get, and it's just going to come down to, what do you like, and how much do you play? It's there's a lot of questions, but I'm more high on this than I was on Google's, because and plus Amazon's infrastructure is, I think, is probably better from what I've read than Google's. So and they're another company like Microsoft that has so much money that if they really wanted to and really want to pursue this, they could just throw money at it and then make their money back slowly, over time.
And they have been behind the scenes. They have a in-house developer. They're growing. They're just a little quiet about it.
I think they also like they're the home to all the Fortnite servers, if I'm not mistaken, as well.
They're home to like something like 85% of all games globally. Their servers run the backbone to tons of stuff.
And they've got Twitch already,
Twitch is integrated.
That's huge.
And think of all the Prime member stuff you could do too.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
That's the thing. You've got so much right off the bat, and they're going to come out swinging, and then Google's going to be like, nope, let's stop supporting this. Yeah, I mean, I also want to see what exclusive game.
I think that's funny, right? Because if you remember, we reported on several months ago, like Jade Raymond went over to Stadia or Google, right? And they're opening us with Amy.
Santa Monica,
the one who did the Star Wars and Uncharted, left Naughty Dog.
Amy
Hennig. Yeah.
So they have a dedicated studio for Stadia now, more than one actually, but a big one that they were supposedly building for exclusive Stadia content. But to your point, I mean, if it takes them 3, 4, 5 years to build whatever game that's going to be, I don't know what Stadia is doing in the meantime. I think, to your point, Amazon has greater reach. They have greater infrastructure. These games are built on a Windows backbone, which makes, from a compatibility standpoint, it's a lot easier. It just seems Amazon's going about this in a more strategic way.
And I think it also, like, just the way they've rolled out this thing, it's a lot more of a conservative approach, as where like Google was just like, hey, we're gonna show this off to all the devs in March. We're gonna have the CEO out there. We're gonna make this big to do, and then like it just limps out. Where like Amazon's just like in a press release, like, this is a thing, $6. Let's see where we're going. Here's this, Xbox controller for the most part. But
pretty much is.
Like they're doing it in a more conservative way, and also when you see that, Jeff Bezos has more money than God. They are, and you see them in the tech field in not like the biggest way, but like they're there. They have their footprint in all these different places. And when it comes down to like, they also have their marketplace where no matter where you turn, there's an Amazon Basics equivalent to. And so when I take a look at Luna, I'm kind of like, oh, okay, so like this is the Amazon Basics equivalent to your Game Pass. Is it going to be, to me, like the next big thing? Could, but I'm not really like going like, yeah, this is it. This is the future. But I am thinking like, yeah, they want a portion of this market. I don't know how big they want or if they can compete on the level of, or even if they're trying to do this. Like, to me, I look at that service and go, okay, so is it another way for you to distribute your games since you have Twitch and you know that physical media is on its way out? Is this another way of kind of onboarding people on the Amazon side to Luna? Could be. And that's kind of how I see it as well. Is it's like just 100 games, most of them we've all played already, but like, taking games like, Plague Tale or Control was a big one. They played that in Times Square in that commercial. Like they got some important IP that needs to be there, but I think they're building it slower. And I think the expectations for them are so low because Stadia has just done so bad. And I bring this question on to you guys. A, is PlayStation dead? B, what does happen though? Like, in all seriousness, what does happen to PlayStation that 10 years out? If we have all these major players that can easily outspend Sony for that market dominance. Yeah. That's my one question. Is just like PlayStation obviously isn't going anywhere, but what does their future look like in 10 to 15 years?
think it's a great question, and I've been chatting with some other friends about the same thing. And to be very clear, too, if you're an Xbox guy listening to this show, the last thing you want is for PlayStation to go away.
Yeah,
you absolutely don't want that to happen. I don't care if you play their games or not.
Well, it's interesting you say that because are they competing with them? Like Phil said, are they?
The point being, right, is that PlayStation has such a presence in the market with their games and everything, right, that you just want that competition layer. That's all. Yeah. I do think they're competing with them to some degree. True. But to Joseph's point, 10 years from now, if you're talking about here's the major corporate players and the foundation is there at that point for cloud gaming globally, what does that look like for PlayStation? It's a great question. It's hard to speculate on. Because you can, unfortunately, if you're being realistic, there is a future where PlayStation becomes a Sega, where they make great games, but the hardware market that they've been so good at for years just isn't there anymore, and they continue making games.
And team up with a bigger company, and
with Amazon or Google or Microsoft.
That's kind of what I'm thinking at. Is kind of the end game is like, because I take a look at this and I'm like, all right, let's put the tinfoil hats on. You guys can call me an idiot, but let's just do it. Listen, people. Yeah, I don't know. Where's my Splatoon hat? Somewhere. This way. You know what? Before I do this, guys, carry on without me for just a sec. Actually, no, I got the hat right here.
Oh my God.
Okay. So now that we've gone to Crazy Town, what happens to PlayStation 5-10 years out? Does an Apple come in here or Google going, and let me take this off, this is about to fall off, we need infrastructure, we need content, you have it.
Yeah.
You need infrastructure, we have it. Let's have is it a strategic partnership? Yep. Or like for me, having that tinfoil hat on even more so, and maybe me being an Apple fanboy. Okay. All right. Deep down in my heart, it is what it is, even though, yeah, it sucks. But like knowing that like Apple is, there was rumor like back a year or change that they wanted to buy Sony's production. Like they wanted to buy their movie division type of deal.
Oh, right.
For Apple Plus content.
Right.
Because it's abysmal over there. So they need content there. Sony has that. They need, if they want to be serious in games, they need content. PlayStation kind of has that. And then you could even make a play for their screens, their TVs. Would we see something like even an acquisition happen? Like, because Sony is not the juggernaut in terms of hardware that they once used to be. So like, to me, I see
to be specific, you're not talking console hardware, you're talking hardware, TV,
right, hardware.
Yeah, hardware. I just want to be clear, anyone listening, you know, I know what you're saying, but
it like, is this a Beats situation, but just on a grander scale? Like, to me, I don't see I see PlayStation becoming a Sega eventually if they don't have that big strategic play, because no matter what, that brand is one of the most recognizable brands in the world, PlayStation alone.
Yeah.
So like that is very valuable whether they make hardware or not.
Correct.
But I don't know. I just wanted to put that hat on.
That's not simple at all. That's actually thinking realistically. Dan will tell you, because I probably drive him crazy with some of this stuff, but this is the kind of shit I'm always talking about. Well, people are like, oh, they sold 20 million consoles. I'm like, that's not the conversation. Think future. You know, you got to think about the market. I love having these conversations. So you're not tinfoil hat. You're spot on. And that's, I think, Sony's challenge now is they have to figure out, we have this global brand, to your point. It's one of the biggest brands in the world. It's very passionate fan base globally behind this brand. It's very profitable, right? Mm-hmm. We saw revenue. I think Sony's revenue last year, PlayStation, was 17 billion something over the whole year, the fiscal year, something like that. But the market where that brand has flourished is changing. And Sony as a company is not positioned in the same way to change and evolve like the other companies that are coming into it. They can't play on that playground. So they do have to evolve, and I don't know what that looks like, but it would be a depressing day to me, just like it was with Sega. When I knew Dreamcast was the last Sega console, that was a sad day for me. I don't want to see PlayStation consoles go away. I don't want to see any consoles go away, but I think you're being realistic by looking at the bigger picture that this market 10 years from now, 15 years from now, especially, is going to be very different.
The Trophy Room of Video Game Podcasts. I got it just in case. I got it trademarked if I have to. Yeah.
So, by the way, you like this color coordinating I got going on today?
I was about to say it's I like it. I really do.
So I can't believe, guys, it always speaks to the level of conversation and discourse that we're having. We've already been talking for 2 hours, just three of us. So it's been great. There's a couple other things I want to touch on. Mass Effect Legendary Edition, definitely coming in 2021. The trilogy remastered. You guys pumped about this?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes. 100%.
I heard that they're I heard that they're taking the Mass Effect 1 combat, tossing that out, putting in the Mass Effect 2 or 3 combat. I'm all in, because Mass Effect 1's combat sucked. And Mass Effect 2 is one of my favorite RPGs ever. So like, as long as they keep that they don't change the story around and I could actually get into the game because the gameplay is actually good. Yeah, I'm all in for that.
Fair. Yeah. It really played like Dragon Age Origins is what it did. And now, and I think Dragon Age, the setting actually lent itself better for that style of gameplay. Whereas, Mass Effect 2 was more, it kind of combined the best of both worlds. I think actually the gameplay in 3 and Andromeda were actually not bad. It's just everything else about Andromeda was terrible. So, they've got a place to do it. It's one of my top 2 besides BioShock, series of all time. So I'm super excited for it. Sounds like they were having issues with the first game and bringing it up to snuff with the other 3. So fine, take some more time on it. It's not like we don't have other stuff to play between now and then, because
well, if they did release in October, it wouldn't have gotten played by me.
No, I forgot. Squadrons was next week. It's on. Is
it really?
Yeah, it's
on.
Yeah. So yeah, man, this is gonna be, and then there's that, and then there's 3 or 4 other games between then and Legion, and then you've got.
That's when it kicks off.
Yeah, then
you're done.
Dude, November, my wallet is crying.
No doubt. Yeah, I'm pumped about it. Love it. I'm one of those few people that likes Mass Effect 1 better than 2. Even though 2 is more streamlined, amazing story. The last hour or 2 hours of that game, that final battle, incredible, and characters and all that. But Mass Effect 1 for me had the RPG elements. I'm a big RPG guy, and Mass Effect 2 got rid of some of those elements, which really disappointed me. So to your point, if they can take Mass Effect 1, make the combat evolve it, right? Combat evolved. Always got to plug Halo. Bring it up to snuff. Make maybe some of the Mako exploration a little more interesting and streamlined as well. I think that could be fantastic. I love the Mako, man. I was so mad when they removed it. Bizzle, what are you doing, man? $20 super chat, out of control, sir. Just doing my part. You don't lose money on the CC Gaming website. We're gonna have to call it. It's gonna be like Season Gaming. Is crowd funded. I'm gonna have to put a statement out there. Is this enough for Sekiro? Let me check. No, it's not. But thank you very much. Thank you very much, Bizzle. Always appreciate the support, man. Definitely one of our longtime, very supportive SG community guys. So appreciate that greatly. That is a very cool avatar, by the way, too. Where was I? The only other thing I want to touch on, guys, is Michael Ansel. Michael Ansel, if you're not familiar, is the creator of Rayman and Beyond Good and Evil. And as you know, with these Ubisoft Forward events we kept saying, where's Beyond Good and Evil 2? Because it's a pretty highly anticipated game, which looked incredible of what they've shown it. Out of nowhere last week, blindsided, Michael Ansel just came out and Ubisoft published a statement saying he's retired from the gaming industry. Gone.
Yeah.
He's apparently pursuing a career in food.
I thought it was like the environment. I thought it was
environment, something like travel and food or something, something, we're going to see him on the Travel Channel or something. I don't know. But on his Instagram, he posted that he's just done and apparently hasn't even been really involved in the development of Beyond Good and Evil 2 for months now. So Ubisoft said they were doubling down on its development. I think they said, if I'm going off memory here, Ubisoft Paris and some of the Montpellier, don't know if I said that right, staff are going to be are going to be added to to bolster the development of this game. But long story short, one, I'm very disappointed because the two new Rayman games we got in the 360 PS3 generation were some of my favorite platformers ever. They're just incredible games. And two, if you were expecting Beyond Good and Evil to release anytime soon, it's not happening. I'll say 2022 if you're lucky. Say it again.
Gen 10.
It's going to release in the cloud. That's how far out it is.
Yeah.
So. Oh, man. You guys, any comment on this piece? I just wanted to mention it.
No, apparently, from like the murmurs is that he was ousted because of what's been going on at Ubisoft for the past for a while now, but have come to surface.
Oh, okay.
It was part of a toxic work environment, and so they were just like
didn't know that.
Giving him the boot. Yeah. So if that's the case, cool. Take the trash out. For me, I'm not like a big Beyond Good and Evil guy, so like I looked at this game and like there's monkeys in space. Yeah.
Too funny. All right, man. Anything you guys want to touch on in terms of currently playing? So do you guys pick up Mafia Definitive?
I literally started it today.
Okay. I like it so far. I didn't play the original when it released, but I started playing that yesterday for a little bit, and writing's really good. The cinematics are really good. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, I'm an hour in, and it's already better the entire Mafia 2 remaster. So
this is a
hard
proper one.
I'm debating it. Because I'm just like, am I gonna actually get the time to play it, beat it in time for like Squadrons is next week.
Yep.
Watch Dogs, am I actually gonna have time? Is this a wait for sale thing? So for me, I'm still waiting. I'm like 30, 20, possibly. Yeah.
This is a stupid question. It kind of doesn't really matter because it's cross-platform. But you got it on PlayStation? Squadrons?
Oh, Squadrons, yeah. I want that PSVR.
That's what I'm talking. I got the HOTAS too, man. I'm ready to go. I got the.
Dude, he's got PSVR flight stick. He's gonna be in a cockpit over there.
This is like 1990s me, finally getting that that Star Wars game that I've always wanted. So I might totally suck, but I'm gonna add you on there when I get a chance.
Oh, dude, yeah. Like I know I'm gonna suck. I'm just gonna crash into everything, but I'm ready.
Yeah, that's probably what's
the obstacles for funding, Dan, were removed because now you can fund the optimal experience that you want to experience a Star Wars game.
Exactly. I'm ready to go, man. Let's do this. Let's do it.
got my Qui-Gon lightsaber downstairs or right here. We got we're big Star Wars fans here in this household. My brother has an insane collection. I think where's my Ben saber? Anyway, he has an extreme collection. I'll show you a picture of it. He has over like 24 sabers. He has like 3 different variants of Luke's saber. It's just like we don't mess around. We even have Maul saber from Rogue One. It is the most unwieldy thing you can ever see in your life. It's I love a good Star Wars.
Yeah, Dan's a huge fan. Dude, should I tell you about my alpha experience with Squadrons, Dan, again? Or
I don't want to hear about it because they fixed everything. It might be complete trash right off the bat.
No, I hope it's good because it's got the small single player campaign too, right? It's not just multiplayer. So I can
play like by myself exclusively if I wanted to, because there are you can just have AI friends, and then you can also have so I actually don't have to play with anybody, but it'd be nice to have somebody else to run into as we're going around flying my flying fighter. So.
What else, Joseph? What have you been playing, man? What have you been up to? Anything good?
Other than Sea of Thieves, I have been kind of like I'm in that lull point that like I always get. Like I'll play one game for a really long time, and I'm like, all right, I need a bit of a break. So I've been playing a lot of Sea of Thieves with Luke, carrying that team to victory time and time again. Playing Kingdoms of Amalur, Re-Reckoning. I got a code for that, and I was playing it. I was getting into it. Even I could tell as someone who's never played it before, I'm like, this is a lazy port. This is not like I didn't even know if they up-resed it. It does not look great, but it plays really well. And unfortunately, I got pretty far in, and my hard drive took a drop. My extended drive, I lost everything. So I'm like, this is the worst. But yeah, like other than that, being really bad at Tony Hawk, I'm really good at being awful at that. And then Marvel's Avengers every now and again. I really just I'm praying that game gets good, because right now it's just if it didn't have the Marvel IP, we would be trashing this game just to no end. And just because it has the Marvel characters and logo, we give it a pass. But right now it's so confused. It's just menus the game times 10. It's Dark Souls of menus.
So Steve Esposito reviewed that for us at SG, and he had a lot to say. He wrote a long review on it, but those are some of the things he said. It's just, it's like every once in a while you see the brilliance of the character you want to love, and you do something cool and you get excited, and then it's like everything else is like cumbersome and over designed or under designed. It's just not in a good place. Like, no, that's disappointing.
Like, I'll be playing it, and like, because I'm playing that with Luke as well, and like he'll pick up like something for Tony Stark. Like he's like, hey, I just found an arm piece for Tony Stark's armor that some goon had. I can't wait to put on Tony Stark's armor piece that he made that was found on some goon. Like, the armor system just makes zero sense whatsoever. It's just, it's so dumb.
Yeah. It definitely, and we've said this before, it feels like a game. I haven't played it, so I'm just going on what people have said, but it feels like a game where they wanted to create this big, expansive game as a service, which Dan, rants about frequently, and they just didn't know what direction to take it. And it just got this bag of ideas and functionality and design, and play sounds weird. So,
yeah.
But cool, man. I think, you said you're in a lull, and Pampa said, it feels like we're all ready for new stuff, new hardware, new. It's what it is. It's like it's so excited. All of our focus and energy is being put on PS5 and Series X or S right now, and it's just like I'm not motivated to play too much. I have been playing Tony Hawk and now Mafia, so I hope I make it through that. But Dan, you play anything different or fun?
No, I downloaded. Funny, we were talking about Squadrons. It's like some kind of Rebel Galaxy Outlaw, I think what it was. It was released on PS4. Or it's kind of like, from what I've seen, it's downloaded. I just haven't played it yet. It's kind of like little freelancer games or Wing Commander and stuff. So I'm going to jump into that maybe alongside Mafia. I got back into No Man's Sky pretty heavy, and I stopped myself because I was like, man, I can stop because I will basically miss all of next gen if this is what happens, because they've done so much with that game. God, it's so good.
Another update this week with Origins, right?
It's just so much. That's the problem with games like that. It's so like dense with like so much stuff to do, and you try to focus on just one or two little things, and then next thing you know, you're on the other side of the galaxy. You can't figure out how to get back to your base. Then you realize, oh, there's a teleporter that you can actually just teleport straight to your base with. So I literally spent, I don't know how many resources and stuff and time trying to jump basically from one side of the galaxy to the other to get back to my base, when I then realized I can just teleport and it cost me nothing. And I was super mad. This is too much. I love it.
Yeah, it is. I tried to get back into it too, and like I played it at launch a lot on PS4 and loved it, despite its shortcomings. But now you jump in and it's gone the other direction. Like you said, it's too much. It's like the tutorial alone is like hours, you know, and it's like it's just too much.
And I'm still falling asleep. I actively
go ahead.
Oh yeah, I actively do not like that game one bit. So like when people are like, just jump back in, it's great. I'm like, I'm gonna be like farming atoms or something, and I just want to get on my ship and shoot something, and I'm just asleep. I don't want to relax, you know. I want to be on edge.
Is the better game. Go for Squadrons. But yeah, I don't like that they made you as part of the tutorial have to build stuff now, like walls and floors and stuff. And I'm like, I don't want to do this. This doesn't. So anyway, and if you missed it, Rocket League went free to play this week, and had its latest update as well. It's also cross play and cross progression. So if you play, whether you're on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, you can all play together and tie into your Epic account now, which is really cool. So that's
you actually reminded me. I'm going to download that right now. So I got that free $10. So I get that Fortnite pass. So I could go get an Iron Man that I'll never play.
There you go. So, all right, man. So I think we'll go ahead and close it out. Bitcast 124. Let's talk about things that are upcoming. So we've got new reviews coming this week. Our latest contributor that's joined Season Gaming, Nate. I announced him last week. You can find him. He's going to be doing the review on Hades, which is a very, very popular game right now on the Switch and getting great reviews. So he's working through that right now.
That's what I've been playing.
Hades?
Yeah.
Okay. You liking it?
Yes. I can't believe I forgot about it. But I love a good Dark Soul. I'm sorry. Why am I blanking on it? Oh my God.
Roguelike.
A good roguelite. So that game, man, it's so freaking good, and the combat feels so great. The only thing that sucks is I'm playing it on a Switch Lite, and the font is so small. I haven't messed around with the settings or anything, but if they could just change that, if they give me just like a bigger text instead of like 0.5, if they give me a good 12 font like a normal person, that game is. I get why people are saying this is a Game of the Year contender.
Okay. Fantastic.
Yeah,
so
I mean, this is what
I was just gonna say I don't know if I'm gonna buy it yet, and then I was gonna ask Stan if he bought it, and that would have been a stupid question because I knew he already bought it.
Stupid one.
So yeah, anyway, he's doing Nate's doing the review for that. That'll be his first article on the site. We've got a few other kind of big articles coming this week. I'm still working on mine. I was working on the PlayStation and Xbox article, dealing with a lot of what we talked about today, and then Xbox bought the Bethesda. So apparently I can't overlook that in the article now. So I've got to touch that up. Next week too. I don't know if it's confirmed. Dan, do we know if Benji's coming on next week?
He is. He's checking for me right now. So he works on Saturdays sometimes. So he is going. He's working today. He's going to try to get a schedule for next week and see what's up. But he will be on the show eventually. We just have to, straighten it out. But I'm working on it.
Yeah, so we've got Benji Sales coming on soon. We've got John Scar coming on soon. If you don't follow John, he's a really good guy. He writes for Best Buy in Canada. One of those people who writes about all platforms in a positive way, which is awesome. And then we're also going to plan here in the future an SG official show. So a bunch of contributors at Season Gaming now, which is just fantastic, that haven't been on the show yet. So we're going to try and figure out how we can do a show with kind of all of us, which will be fun. So just stay tuned, but a lot of good things in the works as always. So Joseph, man, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Seriously, I mean that sincerely. Great conversation, great insight, and just a pleasure to speak with someone who primarily talks about one platform, but does it in the way that it should be done. So thank you for coming on. Where can everyone find you, man?
Well, dude, it's been an amazing show. And I'm going to be real with you. This is one of the best shows I've been on. Just period, bar none. I've had, dude, what was it? We're at 2 hours plus, and it felt like when you're like, we've been talking for 2 hours. I'm like, no, we haven't.
I didn't realize either. I hadn't looked at the clock, and I looked. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't realize we had been talking for 2 hours.
And I only ranted like once and a half. Like, what was that? I'm sorry.
My ass is killing me right now. I'm really sitting on a hard chair.
You gotta get a better chair, man.
I know. I'm just sitting at like a dinner table chair, so it's, I gotta work. I need to get my hemorrhoid cushion out.
All right, come on now.
All right, okay. Now let's talk about donuts after. You know what I mean?
What happens? Jeez,
I do need a new chair. I'm looking at you, Ains, and I'm like, damn it, he has the coolest goddamn chair. I got this at Costco, and it's.
It wasn't cheap, but this has been literally the best purchase I've made this year. I did it because I have to work from home now because of COVID, right? And I sit here 8 to 10 hours a day every day. But it's so comfortable, it's so supportive. Get one, it's worth it.
All right. I will, like, seriously, this one, like, because I've been sitting here like since COVID has been a thing, and I'm just like, this seat is decimated. It's decimated in all the, like, oh my god. With that said, though, you can find me over at Bad Bit Games on YouTube, where we talk about all things game news, reviews, and unboxings. And that's where you can find the video version of my show, The Trophy Room, a PlayStation podcast. And that is where each and every Thursday, me and my best friend Kyle talk about the latest, the greatest in all things PlayStation. You can also find the show on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, wherever you get your podcast services. That isn't SoundCloud. So that's where you can find the show. Find me, Mr. Badbit, on Twitter. And you can also follow the show on Twitter, PS Trophy Room. Yeah.
Nice. There you go. Man, you've done that a few times before, I can tell.
Yeah.
I got to memorize off the, like, every time like I do it now, people are like, well, it's like the guy with the eye gift. Like,
Dan, anything shout out?
No, man. Diego, who's doing the Mafia review for us?
No one right now, I don't think.
Yeah, maybe I'll do it, Diego. And we'll see how if I can make it between now and Squadrons. So I have 2 days. Okay. That's possible. Only a possibility. So
in all seriousness, I've heard it's not that long. It's 20 missions and it's rather straightforward. So some of the reviews I saw say it's not super long. So
that's a night for me. I can do that, no problem. Easy mode, no problem. No, I got nothing to shout out, man. Come check out the podcast every Saturday, but you know that because you're already here. So, boom, there it is.
All right, man. It's been a great show. What?
I said, go check out Mr. Bad Bit.
Yes,
that's what
yes,
that's my shout out because I have no need for shout outs. Don't follow me on Twitter.
I won't stop you.
That's right.
Thank you guys very much, chat. You've been awesome as always. I saw a lot of new faces in chat this week, which is fantastic. It's good to see. Appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed the show. We're like this every week. We're carefree but honest. That's what we do here. So appreciate you stopping by. This was Bitcast 124, and we will see you next week. Peace.
Outro.